It says starting. There we go. Okay.
Here we go.
So, hello.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Dream Sleeve Lorecast.
Something like that. I thought about writing an introduction for all of this, but I don't know if that's necessary.
The history is made up, and the canon doesn't matter.
That's perfect.
Let's jump right in.
That's tasty. Jack is our new beard here today. So Jack, do you have any questions that you'd like answered, or any topics that you'd like to start with?
Well, considering that the Elsewhere announcement's going to be coming in like 4 days, I think at this point.
3 or 4, something like that.
I believe.
We could talk about Khajiit lore and specifically.
Well, we have Michael here, so
Yeah,
we have Michael and Mac here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael is basically the Khajiit guy, and then Mac is Michael 2.0.
yeah.
So you're in good hands here. So what specifically do you want to know about the Khajiit?
Mostly their politics, and the divide between like the upper and lower halves of Elsewhere.
Okay, Michael, you wanna take us away with that?
Sure. So the nation of Elsewhere is divided into two kind of sub-nations: Anaquina, also sometimes called Anakina, and Palatine. Anaquina is an area of red deserts and mostly a tribal culture. Palatine is an area of rainforests and is mostly cosmopolitan with some, probably quite a few farms. More like the civilized south and the barbarian north, if you will, though I wouldn't use that terminology, but that's probably how a lot of people see it.
Yeah. If I recall, moon sugar grows best in the Tenmar forest in Palatine, correct?
Indeed it does.
So you can definitely see, at least with moon sugar, something so dear and close to the Khajiit, especially for their religion. You can definitely see why Palatine would be seen as... I would say Palatine might be seen as a somewhat more spiritual area of Elsewhere.
It kind of depends. I mean, the main temple and or I should just say the lead temple and the main reside in Torval, which is the capital of Palatine, and I don't know if it's technically the capital of Elsewhere or not. I think so, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that Anaquina doesn't have spirituality. It certainly does. The clan mothers are the female, or you might even could argue matriarchal leaders of the Khajiit live in both Anaquina and Palatine. It's been suggested they might have a slightly stronger role in Anaquina than they do Palatine, because in Palatine you have, of course, the main, but also the moon priesthood. So they're present in the north as well.
Very informational.
Lore.
Yeah, ask more. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, keep it coming.
Keep it coming.
If you start asking elf stuff, I'll be happy.
So with the relationship between the main and the Confederacy of Elsewhere, does the main exist even when the nations are split, or is that a thing that only happens when the two are joined together?
I believe that the main exists even if the nations themselves are split, given the fact that the main himself is not a political leader, he is a spiritual leader. He's much more tied to the faith rather than the actual politics and geography. So as a result, at least for me, I would say that the main very likely exists even when the Confederacy is not tied together.
Yeah, I mean, in ESO, you technically Elsewhere doesn't exist as a individual. Wait, is it? Yeah. It's because Elsewhere's been broken into the client states of Anaquina and Palatine.
Has it? I thought it was unified during the second era.
That's also in the fourth era. The elves are always trying to break the Khajiit up, man. Divide and conquer. It's their way. Thinking
Hey,
elves.
listen,
But anyway,
I might blame the Imperial Potentate for that.
that's a whole other.
Yeah,
that's a whole
yeah,
other
Fine,
story.
fine.
That's when you start dealing
Valid,
with Bremen,
but
and
that's
that
a
thing's a
different
mess.
story.
That's a different story. But yeah, it's this weird. Well, okay, so I should go with this. If you haven't seen the Khajiit Lorecast, elsewhere, the land of the Khajiit was originally divided into 16 tribes. There were 16 tribes of Khajiit,
16,
and
you said.
then was it the Thracian?
No, it was the
Or
Nahatan flu.
Nahatan
Yeah,
flu?
the Nahatan, yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah, I get
Nahatan
them
flu
mixed
from
up.
Black Marsh.
From Black
Right.
Marsh came and wiped out all but 2 of the tribes, and the tribes being Anaquina and Palatine. And so there was this big problem. The Khajiit fell into dichotomistic thinking, and it was really bad. And the Maine came and found a way to unify their thinking and unify the peoples, and that's how you ended up with Elsewhere.
Wait. No, I believe the Maine was around far before the Nahatan flu.
There were antecedent Maines, yes. But the first Maine, first in importance, not first
Riddle
historically,
Like Riddle
was
Party.
Ridthar Ridata.
Yeah.
Yeah, you actually talked to him in ESO.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was more bringing up was that. Never mind. Sorry, I was confused for a moment.
It's okay. It happens to all of us.
Yep. Always.
I'm
So-
never-
So much lore.
So what else? What else do we got?
I'm
Someone else can-
destroying my computer with trying to get
Also,
this
I don't think
screen past the-
Anaquita and Palatine were separated during the Second Era. I think it is more of a case of the Elsewhere as we know it, the Elsewhere Confederacy, is still very much its own solid entity as part of the Aldmeri Dominion. But
Yeah,
Anaquina and Palatine are effectively states of a country.
Mm. Yeah, I thought that I read that they were separated, but I'd have to.
Yeah,
look.
because the only time I've ever heard of them being separated was, first off, before Ridthar Ridata showed up, but also, of course, in the Fourth Era, when a coup caused the Elsewhere Confederacy to dissolve.
Mm.
Yeah, because I know during the time of ESO that they're still recovering from the Knahaten flu. So, like, their
Correct.
population's basically decimated still. So they're still recovering from that, which, like, has led to them being super dependent on the Dominion.
Yeah.
By the way, I'd like to point out, I think it was The Eagle and the Cat, written by Lord Gareshri, when he was explaining what kind of happened when the Dominion suddenly showed up and started helping people to deal with the Nahatan flu. He described the Altmer as almost looking like they just weren't phased by it. Like they would freely walk among the people to help heal them. Like they didn't seem worried or scared by the flu. And I am swiftly reminding myself that in Daggerfall, Oblivion, and Morrowind, Altmer are 50% resistant to disease
Yeah.
for seemingly no reason.
Yes, no reason
So-
at all.
Yeah,
No,
that's
all right. So
sneaky.
what I mean by that is that it also seems strange that both Altmer and Red Guards are both 50% resistant to disease.
Is it
given the fact-
Bosmer as well? Or what
Yeah.
else?
Bosmer and Argonians are also the same way, but with them it makes sense.
Yeah.
Bosmer and
Yeah.
Argonians both live in places where diseases are rampant,
Mosquitoes.
but then you
Yeah.
have the Red Guards who came from a completely different continent, and the Altmer who live primarily on an isolated
You don't know
archipelago.
what, like, all of
Yep.
the, like, biomes of Yakuta were like. They could have lived in, like, somewhere like Black Marsh.
Yeah. Well, what I mean by that is that they came from a place that likely did not have the same diseases that Tamriel does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, again, with the Altmer, them being in a land where they're primarily isolated, so it seems very bizarre that they somehow have this resistance to disease.
Yeah.
Actually-
So maybe they made the disease. That's what you're getting at, eh?
No, that's not what I'm getting at. We
Oh,
already know what the Nahatan flu is. It's
okay.
Ebola.
Well, actually, aren't aren't Hammerfell and Somerset one of the two places that the Slode are found most commonly, like when they invade?
Well, they're on the eastern coast, so it would be
Yeah.
Hammerfell,
Yeah,
Somerset, High Rock, and Valenwood.
Could it have been
Is that-
because they got hit by the Thracian plague the hardest that they have that immunity?
Maybe.
That's what I was thinking.
For all we know, For all we know,
Altmer don't have that resistance. I don't think so.
to
I don't-
disease, or if I recall them having it.
They shouldn't. I don't think. At least,
Let's see. In Morrowind, in Morrowind they have disease resistance 75
Oh,
to
do
resist
they?
common disease.
Okay, then I guess that's a solid
Interesting.
train of thought there.
In that case, you could say that it could have been Ciribane, or as the song goes, Ciribane. It could have been Ciribane who gave them that resistance, who kind of just shared it with them.
Ciribane sounds so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
rolls off the
Ciribane
tongue.
sounds better. Ciribane goes in line with the song. It
Yeah, I think
follows
they
the
just-
meter of the song.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Even in Oblivion, they have resist disease 75% on self.
Okay, I guess that.
I mean, these are pretty compelling things, but we also need to remember that in Daggerfall they were also immune to paralysis.
Which I think that's a throwback to Dungeons and Dragons, because elves have a lot of immunities like that. Like,
Yeah, don't they tend to? I think they tend to have immunities or resistances to magical effects.
I used to
That's
make the joke when I was watching Lord of the Rings that all the elves just naturally repel dirt, so that's probably why. It becomes magnetically repelled.
I'm gonna double check. You know,
To those of you who may not be aware of my Ebola joke, my
I'm sorry.
All right,
Flew
so
over me.
I had responded to Johnny here, saying that no, we know what the Nahaten flu is. It's Ebola. That's not
Yeah.
exactly what it is, but it is a similar case. You see, to those of you who don't know zoology and biology very well, the reason Ebola is so dangerous to us is because it's effectively the flu, but for bats. If a bat catches Ebola, they're going to be fine. They're going to be sick for a few days, but ultimately, in a lot of cases, they'll be fine because the disease has adapted to live inside of a bat's immune system. On the other hand, if it gets into a human immune system, it doesn't understand the anatomy, so things go haywire. And that's why it's so destructive and you just die, because the disease itself doesn't know what it's doing. The same goes-
Super disease.
The same goes with the Nahaten flu, because I believe it was a lore master who was answering everything in character as an Argonian, and they explained that in Blackmarsh, the jokey name for the Nahaten flu was the half-swim sniffles. So it is basically the flu for Argonians, but because Argonians have such a drastically different biology compared to all other races, it is a devastating disease.
I don't know how the Kothringi lived there for that long without just dying.
It's obviously their blue skin.
Yeah, it's obviously their lustrous skin.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
don't know
feel
either.
I feel like the other tribes is there like 4 tribes of men from that area? If
I
I'm not
only know
mistaken?
of one being the
they-
Kothringi.
Well, yeah, there's the Kothringi.
Let's
The
pull
Kothringi
it
survived
up.
have-
the longest for sure.
They have I was looking at them just the other day on UESP or the wiki. or
Let's see.
something.
The races of men that I can give you the name of, in order, in alphabetical order, Al-Gema, Al-Hared, Bretons, Horwali, Imperials, Keptu,
Horwalis.
Kothringi, Men of Gi, Men of Ket, Needs, Nords, Orma, Reachmen, Redguards, and Yurpest.
Shut up.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. That's so. Yeah. That
Yeah, it was-
Horwali. That's one of them.
Orma? Yeah, Orma.
Yes,
Orma.
yes, sorry. It's the
Yeah.
Kothringi, the Orma, the Yurpest, and the Horwali.
Yeah.
May have all been of Nedic origin. We know for a fact that the Kothringi are because you do get to meet some in ESO.
It's a shame that they didn't expand that even more. I would've-
also
I
Glothing
would've-
that lived there apparently.
Yeah, there were some dark elves and some aliens that lived in northern Black Marsh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sabic.
Yeah. The Barcidic aliens, and I don't remember what the Argonian or the dark elves.
I
That had
have.
Oh, I can tell you who they were. House Drez.
Well, aside from House Dress.
Yeah, aside from them.
They were the
Forbidden
Canterbury
goods.
Glothi.
I have a theory that some of the islands off of the coast of Argonia, it's very possible that you could have a very primitive society of aliens
10.
living on their own.
Maybe.
Like they probably still speak Aliadu, and they just have no connection to any other part of the world.
Yeah. They probably only speak Aliadun. It's likely none of them know Cyrodiilic.
Yeah, it's very likely.
Well,
No idea.
for any who were watching the Selectives Lorecast this morning, we were talking about aliens a bit, and we did mention the Barcidic aliens. I kind of speculated on
Watch it yet.
where they might be, and you should, Bill. It's great.
They're hiding in the space between spaces.
Perhaps I suggested that they may be the Ideal Masters, or that the Thalmor are actually an alien conspiracy. That was what Ron did.
Oh yeah, I heard. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I
there
caught
is.
that one.
Because of Mancor Cameron could possibly
Yeah.
also be an alien himself. Yeah, that was some pretty
Yeah,
interesting shit.
which I mean, I was under the impression that the Cameron Dynasty was an alien.
No,
Ish to
it's
begin
not.
Well,
Descended from
like
aliens,
the intermingling of Aliadun and
Yeah, the Camoran dynasty is, by all rights, primarily Bosmer dynasty because the formation of the the formation and the subsequent ruling of the Camoran dynasty is what marked year zero of the first era.
thing is, though, a lot of you could argue that Bosmer are just a continuation of aliens, considering that they, I mean, not directly, but they
Jack.
did- what?
Well,
Jack,
actually,
be careful.
there are
What I
there
do?
are they probably did interbreed though. You're probably right.
Yeah, they probably did interbreed after the Alessian Rebellion, but the Bosmer were around.
No, I
They were
know.
likely around
No,
well
yeah.
before the aliens became a thing.
No, I'm not
Jack
saying
already
that.
knows all of my
yeah.
obsessions and the things I talk about constantly.
Yeah,
I
I just want to. I do want to warn you before you accidentally say something like the Altmer are descended from the aliens.
Oh no, I was gonna say that aliens just kind of assimilated into the culture of the Bosmer. And
Yeah, they pretty much did.
Yeah,
Because of course you have most of the aliens who get slaughtered by Pelennor because Pelennor,
Yeah, Pelennor.
and then a whole lot of others just sort of disseminate between the Valenwood tribes and also Clan Jareni, which at that point was an Altmer clan.
They just took pity on the aliens, on the
Yeah.
Dainar mostly.
Yeah,
Because of my
Loriar and
alien,
Dainar, the greatest alien.
what are you working on, Bill?
So
A bird.
since dragons are relevant, I'm gonna do some dragons, and I think the first request I got on Twitter was Durnavir.
Sweet.
Ooh, rad.
Some
Durnavir's
drag-
fun.
I mean, to be fair, Durnavir is the coolest looking dragon in
I know that
Skyrim.
he's purple right now, but that's just my undertone, so don't ignore
Yeah.
the purple. I also have a bunch of stuff pulled up whenever it's relevant about the Kabbalah and Tarot.
Yes.
So whenever y'all want to get into that,
Yeah.
Wait, get into what? I blanked out for a
so
moment.
we had a discussion earlier. So okay, if you want to, so what brings about your theory about Vivek being the middle heir?
So I had this idea
Okay.
that stems from. So we know that water is memory, because we're told this in ESO directly.
Yeah.
So water is memory, stone is history, ice is truth. The combination of memory and history.
Mhm.
That is there's that. I thought that air was analogous to reality or the here and now or something like that.
Yeah, actually, because when you separate the 4 elements in the tarot, like as they're referenced, and it doesn't, and it also was really interesting because the Kabbalah itself is really, it was basically a thing that someone took. It has no real clear origin, and then everyone's just like, I like the way this looks, I'm going to apply my theory to it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's very interpretive. But the 4 elements tend to have a really basic, like they have a very basic concept to them.
Yeah, I think it's Aristotle, isn't it? Who came up with like that, like these elements. All things are made of these 4 or 5 elements or whatever.
Yeah, I would have because
I think
I feel like
Aristotle
that's
says 4
probably
elements.
yeah, it's 4, but there's also a lot of other like there's a lot of other sources that have like the concept of the 4 elements. But the tarot just kind of combined a bunch of shit together and made it into a story. And also, I'm going to pull this up here. So here's the image itself is kind of small, so I'm going to try. Sephiroth from Final Fantasy comes in and
it's in Final Fantasy.
This is Final Fantasy. So we're so this is basically like I like this layout because it actually shows you the elements and the colors and the things that are associated with it. And there's also an alchemy symbol for each of the Sephiroths here. And the alchemy symbol is usually it's just a symbol for the planets, which is also used in astrology, which is also used to like define certain like spheres or elements. And what is really, really similar to this is my favorite diagram of the Arbus, which is this one right here. I'm going to pull up on my screen.
Yeah, that's Nox Fox Arts, I think.
Yeah. So what I really like about this one is it actually has the accurate amount of spokes, even though it's described that the spokes kind of go through the center. But I mean, I'd argue that's the center, right? Because that was always like the big mystery of like how do all these spokes fit into so many holes? So I kind of see the outer areas of the Ada or the Divines actually, because this is probably more of a Imperial / Aldmer interpretation. Yeah. They're very similar to the Sephiroths, and a while back. I have to find it on Google Documents. I actually started to put together like the ideas of the planets in relation to the Imperial Pantheon. To find wherever that is. But yeah, basically there's a lot of connections you can make. And I went off on a tangent, but I was going to describe that air is swords, which is clarity, reality, truth, and then fire is like is conceptuality, archetypes, energy, and I kind of see Vivek being all of these things, because air to me, like if you think of like he seems more fire, if anything, to me, because he's the one who sort of drives reality through concepts. But out of the tribunal, the person who usually has the most has the most idea of what is truth versus what is fiction, or what is like fiction is made into truth, and so still, like he's the one who I think is probably more connected with aspects of earth and air, which are very logical, very constructive, anything that has to deal with reality. And then water and fire are less so. Like they're actually more conceptual, more creative, idealistic. Okay. And Vec seems like he's a very good combination of all of those things to me.
Well, I mean, the way I see it, like Sotha Sil already has a claim on water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. With
Because
memory.
through memory, and one of Vivek's titles is Lord of the Middle Air. And so
Oh, yeah.
that's why I ascribe air to him. Plus, air equates to swords. Muwatra
Well-
is a spear. Like they're weapons.
If we go back to the Kabbalah, this middle Sephiroth right here, I believe, is the one that's supposed to be associated with Jesus, which is it's the center area, and it's also referred to being like the middle area, or like the middle element.
It's considered beauty, right?
Yeah. Well, I think
That's
yeah,
the
it
point.
is. It says it right there.
Yeah.
This middle one really seems like it's very interconnected, and the top one here gives me very like strong Anu vibes as well, and the middle one gives me Pato-Maesith's vibes. Like
For
this
sure.
one.
Okay.
I forget the names of them. So, well, I think that was Doth, and
That's
I can't read.
Doth's Void.
Yeah, and then
Kether.
I can't read them up here. So.
Out of the three, who would know more about beauty than Vivek?
Yeah.
Being the warrior poet.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And
He's
so I'm
beautiful as well.
I mean, Hermaeus Moore is pretty beautiful.
I agree.
Beauty is subjective.
Yeah.
And also you also have the Pillar of Mercy, which is literally Almalexia's mercy. So you also have Almalexia on this Sephiroth here.
Yeah. But there's more to the whole middle air thing, I think. And my part of my reasoning for where I got air equals reality or something like that. And it comes from Chinese mythology. Because in Chinese, the symbol like the actual character that they use to write China, it depicts three lines. I remember. I think it's a box, and then it's like cut in half, and so the whole thing is that they actually called China the Middle Kingdom, and it's because it's between both Earth and Heaven. If that's not duality, I don't know what is. And
Duality is false.
Vivek is a deity of duality. That is his whole thing. He is a warrior. He is a poet. He is a man. He is a woman. He is Chimer. He is Dunmer. He is God. He is mortal. He is all these things.
You say all these things, but then I can also apply as to how Vivek is actually tripartite. Because despite being all these things, he is still himself, something wholly unique and in the center of it all.
The thing that the card that I feel like represents Vivek the most to me is the world. Zawardo.
I was going to make it.
What year is it?
But yeah, I think mainly because it is all about completion and realization. And what I actually like about the world, this card, is it has a few of the zodiac characters in it. So you have Leo, you have Taurus, and I believe that one's Libra. I can't remember.
Aquarius.
Aquarius, right. And then this is Scorpio because the secondary characteristic of Scorpio is an eagle. It's not a scorpion. Yeah, so you also have like whatever these characters.
So a winged scorpion. That sounds awfully a lot like the ground flying Pokemon Gligar.
The third Deacon Scorpio, which is also what I am, is represented by the eagle, and that's usually like a late-born Scorpio. I know a lot about astrology, but
real quick, kind of going off of what you and I forgot who else wrote it with you, Andrew, but the transgender dreamer theory.
Yeah, that was Mac.
Right, Mac and you. So you said you think air is reality. That would make sense if Vivek is like a self-insert of basically ultimate reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, all these ideas kind of chain together like that, and that's usually why I come up with the ideas that I do, because I go, oh, hey, this really fits. This fits with this and this and this and this and this other thing over here. And so, I mean, I've kind of been playing around with the idea. Maybe I'll write something about it at some point. For now, it's just kind of an idea that's percolating.
Well, Phil even said that Vivek himself knows the difference between the truth and the lies. Like he's not someone who's believed them himself. He knows how to manipulate it.
Whereas Almalexia believes her own lies implicitly. And so I wonder if Almalexia is more akin to fire. If we've got water in Cetasil, air in Vivek, and then fire in Almalexia.
Dagoth is earth, and he's just the reminder of their past mistakes.
Well, with Earth world, he has access to the heart of the world.
He is also the past and their history of the mistakes they made.
Yeah.
He also lives in a volcano.
Almalexia also wields a flaming sword.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
She's also really associated with like Akatusk, isn't she? In some of the drawings that MK did.
I think Dan also made like a few. I remember he was talking to me about how he was making some connections between Almalexia being referenced with storms, but not like the bitch storm reference. Like other than that, basically, like there's a lot of things pertaining to that, and kind too.
Yeah. That's interesting. A connection between Almalexia and the Akatusk, because she's described in the sermons as the face-snaked queen, and so snake, serpent, dragon. Like it's a pretty clean lineage from one to the next.
Well, she's also the ruling king in Morrowind, which is Ortro.
The ruling king is more of a mythic role. She may be kind of the head of Almsavie, but the ruling king is Talos, and it will be Talos until he is supplanted. Whereas before it was Lorcan, and then the Enantiomorph at the top of Adamantia happened, and the rebel Trinimac killed Lorcan, and then he was supplanted as the ruling king until Talos could reclaim that mantle.
Right, but Almsavie is a microcosm of the macrocosmic Enantiomorph.
Sure, but she is not the ruling king because she has not taken the place of Talos. Because the ruling king is the head honcho of it all, as close to I don't want to say as close to the Godhead as you can get, but as close to being the Godhead, if that makes any more sense. And Talos has so much going on. There's so
the Godhead is also the top part of the Kabbalah too. Because that basically represents God, and it's also like not only God, but just like the reality of everything, the pinnacle, the topmost.
I'm gonna pull up the Kabbalah here myself.
The crown chakra.
Yeah, the crown too, which is
There's fun in Hebrew. I can't read that shit.
Yeah, I can't either.
But you can kind of tell by looking at it.
It's interesting that they ascribe Neptune to that.
Wait, did they ascribe Neptune to what?
To that topmost.
Oh no, that makes sense. But it makes more sense if you understand really ancient Greece. Not what we call ancient Greece, but the Greece before ancient Greece.
Gotcha.
Because thing is, I believe the term is Chthonic. I might be wrong though.
Pre-Pythagorean?
Do what?
Pre-Pythagorean?
Maybe? The term itself is in reference to gods who are more related to the earth. Think things like Poseidon, Dionysus, Persephone, etc. Gods who are more closely tied to the earth and things on the ground versus gods who take part in the sky, things like Zeus, who's in very ancient Greece, Zeus was not the king of the gods. He was not in charge because, well, he's effectively the king of the sky. Who gives a shit about the sky? We don't live there. They cared much more for Poseidon, and yeah, in very ancient Greece, Poseidon was the king of the gods because, hey, he's the most powerful of the land-based gods.
Yeah, the sky thing was kind of like, well, in ancient Greece, like things that come from the ground were seen as more godly than things that came from the air, basically.
Yeah.
And then whenever Christianity was introduced, it was kind of like flopped. Like that was flip-flopped, like
Kinda. I don't think that it was Christianity that introduced it. Well, once again, there is a difference between very ancient Greece and ancient Greece.
Mhm.
Because we're talking about, when I say very ancient Greece, I'm referring to even prior to a lot of Greek texts actually being recorded. But I believe it was prior.
Pythagorean.
Yeah, I believe it was prior to even the Roman Empire that they did the swap around, where suddenly the sky was seen as a lot more godly than the earth.
No one trusted Zeus with all that shit.
Maybe they saw something.
No, he convinced some woman to fuck a swan. How weird is that?
Listen, man, there's a reason there's limited space in heaven. It's because it's underground. Hell is in space.
Why would you go there? Why would you do that?
Why would I say something so controversial yet so brave?
And yet possibly so true.
This is the lorecast I've come to love.
I know, right?
Dan, let me see your cat skull.
Oh, right, yeah.
You said you were
sorry, what's the
following.
text?
I gotta see it.
Yeah, it's just here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, pretty.
It's
Just resin, don't worry.
No animals were harmed in the making of this lorecast.
I got a question.
Okay,
All right.
we got answers.
All right. Hope so. So, I guess there was a post posted on the Dream Sleeve 6 days ago about the truth of the Bosmer, the text written by a Hircine cultist. And beautiful text, but kind of goes on about how wood elves were originally animals.
Is that the thing that Dylan posted?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
true. I was
I'm
just
happy to talk about this.
yeah. I wanted to just hear your thoughts if you think it's true. If well, actually, I have a two-part question. So, first part, if that is true, I don't know if Dylan is here. You could just go into a bit.
No, he's
But
not.
anyways, yeah, if we could just go into that, and then follow-up question: if it is true, would it be possible for the stories to be passed on verbally through the generations, through like a Bosmer storytelling grandpa through the ages, like who just tells his kin and they tell their kin? So you'd have like a wood elf family line tribe somewhere that knows the truth that they were animals at one point, if that was true.
Okay, so I am happy to talk about this because, of course, I'm happy to talk about mer stuff. When am I not happy about talking about mer stuff?
Well, there we go. Works for me.
So here's so before I answer the questions, I feel I probably should present how I tend to view the Bosmer. The way I see it, at one point, the Bosmer were one of two things. They either were Aldmer or they were Old Elnofe. And of course, Valen Wood is a very dangerous place. The moment they got there, they were not the top predators. They were not the top of the food chain. They were more likely somewhere in the middle. That's typically not a good thing if you want to actually survive in some place and thrive.
Yeah.
As a result, they had to make a pact with someone. In this case, they chose Hircine. Hircine is the god of the hunt. He understands the most about wildlife, so making a pact with him is quite honestly a no-brainer if you have to survive in the wildlife.
Yeah.
The problem, of course, is how Hircine tends to view things. The reason the Bosmer end up getting to this point of, oh, we can shapeshift, but we honestly can't stop it. We can't stop shapeshifting. They'll look at it through Hircine's eyes. Why would you want to stop shapeshifting? Why would you want to stop morphing your own shape? What purpose does that serve? What purpose does holding one shape serve when you can be all hunters?
Like werewolves.
Exactly. Then we get into Ithre, being god of the forest in the sense that she was the first to sacrifice her body to create Mundus. or to create Nirn. And since she was the first, she effectively gets first pick. She becomes god of the forest, which by extension makes her god of music, all that wonderful good stuff. She makes a pact with the Bosmer. Her pact basically saying, "Hey, don't hurt plant life anymore, and I will give you the ability to hold to your shape." Now, of course, the teachings of Ifrei also tell you, do not change your shape. You do not want to do that. The only time that is acceptable is if and when a wild hunt is called. And even then, a wild hunt is very rarely ever called. The only time it gets called is specifically when Valenwood is actually threatened. When the entirety of Bosmer is threatened. The best way to view this is during the time of the First Era, during the Alessian Empire, when the Alessian Empire and the First Empire of Nords were both going to march on Valenwood and burn it to the ground.
Right.
And a wild hunt was called. And the King of the Nords was subsequently slaughtered during that wild hunt by beasts that are indescribable.
That was a really good book. It's a really cool lore book if anyone gets a chance to read it.
And that's probably another thing about the wild hunt. What you have to understand is that when you shapeshift during the wild hunt, you create something wholly new. It's not just you turning into a bear or a crocodile or anything like that. You create wholly new creatures.
You become
things
like
Tamriel
creatures.
Yeah, you create something Tamriel has never seen before. And if I recall correctly, there are some theories out there that a lot of the more dangerous monsters in Tamriel, a lot of the ones that weren't there already when people got there and instead have shown up over the ages, are the result of wild hunts. That a lot of these bizarre and strange creatures are truly the result of a creature from a wild hunt, of a boss from a wild hunt.
Think that's fucking dope.
It is.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
here's the thing. If we are to assume that it is true, then my headcanon is already correct. In a way, it is actually true. The problem is that saying that they perfectly and only belong to Hircine is, by extension, only half true. They belong to both Hircine and Ifrei. And in a way, they also belong to themselves.
Yeah. Just quick question in there.
Sure.
So first they made a pact with Hircine?
Yes, that is how I would go with it.
And then after that, they were kind of in this situation under Hircine's will, and then they're kind of then in another kind of obstacle to face, and then that's when they had to make the second pact.
Yes.
Okay.
Effectively, it's kind of one of these thoughts of imagine for an instance that you come from a culture like the old Elnafey or like the old Mer, where you have this very beautiful and wonderful culture, and you make a pact with a wild god who gives you the power to shapeshift constantly and constantly turn into animals, but you can't control that, and over time you start forgetting about your own culture. You start forgetting about the beauty of your people. That's gonna freak you out.
Too Patomic.
Huh. That's kind of like the Falmer, I guess.
Yeah. In a way, Bell just gave it a very good explanation. It's too Patomaic. When you think about it, the Mer, in a way, among the mortal races, the Mer are or tend to be the most Anuic. That pact with Hircine was incredibly Patomaic. For a race of men, it could potentially be something that's not as bad. Unfortunately, for a race that's so Anuic, that immediate shock is like taking a hand that's been sitting in hot water and immediately plunging it into ice water.
Yeah, okay, that's all making sense. That's really cool, though. The whole...
So you made a comment just a second ago, Johnny, about the Falmer.
Yeah.
And the Falmer didn't really get a choice in their form.
Very true.
They were
very sad.
Yeah, they're an extremely tragic case. Dangerous to be sure. Like if you walk into a Dwemer ruin or whatever, like watch yourself.
They're gonna attack you, but at this point, it almost seems like a lot of Falmer just don't even have a mind anymore. They're just acting purely on instinct.
They've become something else. Their ideology and their souls have changed so fundamentally that they are no longer Falmer.
I'm trying to remember. Oh, sorry, Bella, did you have something?
They can still craft armor, though.
Yeah.
They still have that.
They can still craft armor, but it's the equivalent of how goblins craft armor.
Well, it's also funny to note that they use bug shells.
At that point, it's even less than goblins, because at least goblins have metal, however crude it may be.
I'm making comparisons to the Dunmer.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say.
But the Falmer also seem to construct primitive religious totems.
Also, the Falmer
have, that one to a god that no one knows.
The Falmer are able to domesticate animals and raise them.
True.
Yeah, specifically that
I feel like the thing about the Falmer isn't that they're like don't have any intelligence. I think it's that they've been isolated for so long there's no real way to communicate with them.
That's how I feel too.
They're more sophisticated than their brutish appearance would suggest.
Yeah, they're more sophisticated, but in a sideways way.
Yeah, and they can't trust anybody else, so
yeah, they have to kill on sight.
Yeah, that's the thing.
On site, you can't really establish a means of communication with them.
Yeah,
I just feel bad for them.
I hope one day the Falmer can go back to being Falmer.
Oh yeah, I've
if my headcanon has any weight, then they will.
Yeah, I've brought up the idea with my friend Colton in the past. The idea that in a future test game we could meet a Falmer who doesn't. You get to meet like a group of Falmer who are the result of possibly Gelibor trying to help the Falmer go back to their roots
and just get lame.
And they don't quite look right. Like they still kind of have some problems. They do have eyes, but they probably have poor eyesight. They may still be chronically hunched over. They may not be very large.
Yeah.
But you can definitely see that they're starting to go back to what they were. And even in their equipment, yeah, they might still be using the chitin of Charis's for it. But in that same regard, you can start seeing the beauty showing up in their equipment again. Yeah, it's made of bug shells, but it now looks a lot closer to old Mary crafts rather than just sort of ripping shells off of a bug and using that for armor.
In fairness, when you're blind, I don't think you really care that much about what your weapon looks like.
Andrew, you bring up an interesting point about, I wonder what would happen if you took sperm from Gelibor and introduced it into a female Falmer. Are they so far removed genetically at this point that interbreeding is impossible?
I mean,
or would it result in some sort of half-breed?
If we take notes on racial phylogeny and biology seriously, which we should to a point, there's a lot of misinformation in there. Then, I mean, it's definitely possible because they are both. They're still.
Well, they are effectively of the same race.
I mean,
if we think about the concept,
I would argue that the betrayed, the blind ones, they are actually a different race, literally, in a mythic sense, because their ideology has changed. They are no longer wearing the same ideology that they did when they were Falmer.
My counter to that is the Hermaeus Mora quest, where Falmer blood is needed to create a facsimile.
Yeah. I would also say that I don't believe their ideology has actually changed. It's more that their ideology has changed, but the way the universe sees the ideology has warped.
Well, the reason why you need their blood in the Hermaeus Mora quest is because you're trying to replicate the runner blood. So you had to take a little bit of everything that could possibly
right, but if they're no longer elves, then it wouldn't work.
Yeah, they still count as mercs.
Yeah. Belle, is your microphone okay? It sounded like you just started slowly walking away from the computer.
Maybe because my microphone's way over here.
Hey, I just thought of a good idea to get the snow elves going again.
It's better.
Oh, it sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'd like to bring up something I find rather hilarious.
Wait, hold on, Johnny. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say, you guys know Devaith Fear? I don't know. I probably said his name.
That is how you say it.
That asshole.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, you know how he grew those daughters in quotes.
Yeah.
Daughters, wives, and concubines. Yes.
Yep.
And clones of him.
Grew them in jars, but they seem to be fully sentient, and they're females as well, so obviously he has some way of controlling it, maybe. I wonder if he could help. If he met Gelibor, which he could, they're alive at the same time in Skyrim and stuff. If
Demon Sphere is always alive.
he
Yeah,
could,
yeah, he's just a constant.
and he seems to be a little bit altruistic by trying to help the corpus victims.
Altruistic.
The whole chat.
Okay.
Maybe not that word, but he maybe out of curiosity he would do it. He could help Gelibor make jar clones of himself, and then they could continue to Snow Elf race, perhaps.
Do they
Maybe.
interbreed with
I think the bigger problem there is that it's not just interbreeding; it's interbreeding with the exact same genetics. There's with no differentiation.
The real question we should be asking is if they are female clones of himself, is it incest or is it masturbation?
It's both.
Both.
It's disappointing your mother.
It's narcissism. It's like the only thing he could possibly love enough to have sex with has to be his.
I would love to meet Yvette Fear's mother.
I think she'd be disappointed.
Perplexed.
Yeah, she's just like, well, my fucking son's out, killing demons again.
She's like more powerful than he is.
Can't he just like?
Oh my god, probably.
Can't he just?
I kind of feel like Dunmer are a lot more permissive when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I actually have a whole thing that I'm still writing on that, so I don't want to talk too much in case I spoil all my own shit.
I mean,
The short answer is yes, they do.
They may be permissive. They may be permissive, but he's also like an all-powerful ex-Telvanni
he's also an outlier.
Well,
what is he gonna do?
Let's be really honest. Let's be really honest. Not only did Vivek have children with Molag Bal, but they were children who slaughtered God only knows how many Dunmer, and then Vivek murdered them all with his dick.
Yeah,
and he's a hero, and there's statues of him everywhere.
We should also remember that the 36 Sermons literally has Vivek confessing to killing Nerevar in it. And
I don't want to let Set off the hook for this. Like, if we're going to start like kink shaming gods, which we should, because
do you want
to talk about
bringing up that time that Set had a threesome with 2 people?
Remember what we learned in Clockwork City about how Vivek put a thingy on the Factotum's undercarriage?
He was helping.
Well,
Set needs some downtime and he won't take breaks.
So it's implied that Vivek put a tongue in Factotum's butt in Clockwork City.
In the crotch.
Of course he did. Why wouldn't he?
Hips. I love it too because like every time you collect the parts, when you collect the hip part, it just says in flavor text, lightly used. I don't want this anymore.
The imagery.
Yeah, it's great.
I need to pay someone an obscene amount
See,
of money.
that's the thing. It's like everyone has all these theories about why Silvasil like had to tell the precursor to fuck off, basically.
Vivek
He's like, I can't look at you after what you've done.
Crap, Belle, I need your help.
What?
I need your help with something. I'm about to start drawing Finaster, and I need to know if I should do a power walking pose or a weird flex pose.
Power
weird flex.
This dude's gotta be
power walking.
Yeah, dude's gotta be like jazz.
Yeah, you're right. It should just be power walking.
Give him a JoJo pose, but what's a JoJo
power walking?
He's gonna look like a soccer
Belle,
mom.
what did you say? What
JoJo pose. JoJo pose.
You said JoJo pose, but with what?
No, just JoJo pose. But I was saying which one.
Yes, a really large potato wedge pose.
Kink shaming gods is Mike.
Crap. Damn, this is actually a hard choice, so I'm gonna have to look through some of these.
That's funny. You can tell I thought that was funny. She's watching right now, so she knows I think that's funny.
Daria's watching.
Oh god.
No,
Hello.
I'm pretty sure Daria stopped watching.
No, she said
that
she'll be in later.
I'm pretty sure we are not worthy. That's
She's
okay.
preparing to move and everything right now.
Yeah, I mean, I sent her the stream, and I gave her
Oh, yeah.
access.
We had like a long shit talk session earlier. It was fun.
Well, that's good. I'm
That's how we
glad.
communicate.
Yeah.
Should probably be on later.
Jack, is there anything else that really piques your interest in the Elder Scrolls world that you'd like to touch on?
Well,
Jack is a lizard fucker.
well, hey now.
Where did that come?
I'm an Argonian enthusiast. There's a difference.
Jack, we've had this discussion.
Okay, anyway.
We could talk about Argonians.
We good. Well, that's perfect.
Broad.
because I
Okay.
actually spearheaded the Argonian culture selectives lorecast. Yay!
Oh,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't mean to brag.
That was
I know
that
pretty
was
much.
me.
Half the
No, I
things
don't-
there is to know about Argonians.
I don't know shit about Argonians. I know what was presented in Murkmire, and then I made some connections. That's about it.
Jack, what was
That's
your
fine.
favorite part of Fire?
Was my
honestly,
favorite part?
I like
Yeah.
the-
allowing me to make a meme that's
Oh, yeah,
Murkmire
actually,
spoilers without
sorry.
context.
My favorite part was probably the creation myth that was added.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, Rotten Deadeye wasn't terribly enthused by that, but then the more we talked, we realized that creation myth is actually the creation myth of Nirn or Mundus, and not necessarily of the Argonians
No,
themselves.
it's not. Yeah, because like the story actually incorporates pretty much every other race if you look at it.
Yeah.
Like including, because like, hang on, let me pull up.
Because Argonians are basically aliens. Like everyone knows that. Yeah.
So I wrote a thing about this a little while ago. I'm trying to find it. Okay, here, yeah. It's basically I kind of said that you could like interpret Attack and Coda as like meaning humans and elves, and not just like Sithis and Padme as well. Like it could be interpreted as both, because every other race is included except for mankind and the Altmer. Because it mentions the Bosmer, it even mentions dragons. Mentions Khajiit, I think. No, it doesn't.
It's also where we get the idea that the serpent constellation is actually made up of Hist. And so the Hist collectively are the serpent. And so...
Saying the serpent hissed.
Sure. But yeah, so like I accept that connection between the Hist and the serpent. But my favorite part was actually very early on, where you're talking to the one gal, whatever the hell her name is, and she's talking about the remnant of Argon, which is totally not a stand-in for the Eye of Argonia, and she mentions how if it falls into the wrong hands, an unworthy serpent will turn into a giant and rampage for 100 seasons. And that was an Aldudaga reference. Yep, that certainly was. I even went to the 7 fights of the Aldudaga, and I double checked, and Alduin will take his Karstag, meaning gigantic form, and he'll just Hulk smash shit, I guess. I also like the plants that were actually like traps.
Oh, yeah.
Those were kind of cool.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love the mantis ones for my house. They are not the. I know you can get those one mantis plants, but I wanted the one that was like purple.
Oh yeah, like the electric one.
Yeah,
Belle, are you doing Durnavir or Odaving?
Odaving.
Oh, you said Durnavir earlier.
No, someone said Durnavir, but then I also said that there was Odaving.
Yeah, that's why you were like, oh, don't worry about the purple. It's like, but he's purple.
Yeah,
I know.
That confused me too.
I think just no one questioned you because you know what you're doing.
You know how I am. Okay, there's like sometimes like when I speak, there's another
Andrew, are you alive?
train of thought.
It's funny because so I play competitive Pokemon a lot.
I used to.
And I have a Mega Charizard X that I named Durnavir.
Nice.
Yeah. And then what's my Mega Charizard Y?
I will do Durnavir though.
I can't remember what my Mega Charizard Y is. I happen to have my DS here. I will look.
Oh,
I have a quick Argonian question.
yeah.
Yes.
So, I think I read this the other day. I don't know if I'm reading it right or if I'm remembering it right. But I read somewhere that like an Argonian needs to be born in Argonia to have a soul or something. You're not
Sort of.
Argonia,
You don't
but
necessarily lack a soul, but you lack a connection to the hiss. It's
right.
Argonians consider that synonymous with being soulless, but you're not actually soulless.
Yeah. I mean, if the soul is the conjunction of animus, AE, and memory, then yeah, they have a soul.
Yeah.
But they just aren't connected to the hist intrinsically.
Yeah, like
Right.
Argonians consider like their hist part of their soul because they're
Hello, Astra. Welcome back.
via, like the whole
I got
hive mind thing.
Hey,
So
Astra.
when you're not
I'm going to chime in.
like when you're not connected to the hist, it's like you're missing a part of your soul basically because the hist is part of the Argonians' collective soul.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I made a comment earlier on Test Lore about how I'm pretty sure the hist are emulating the Dream Sleeve, in that in every tribe they contain all the souls that aren't currently walking around as Saxhleel. And so they serve as a way to recycle souls and reincarnate them into new eggs. And sometimes the eggs fail, and so they kind of reabsorb those and take the soul back. But for the most part, they that's what they're doing. They're emulating the Dream Sleeve. And I had someone ask me, "What's the Dream Sleeve?"
Oh boy.
And I was like, "Okay,
Ready for the rabbit hole, lads.
here we go."
That's how it starts.
And so, yeah, I wrote like 3-4 paragraphs of just information about the Dream Sleeve and sources and.
All right. So follow-up question. So if the Argonians are connected to the hiss, and that's kind of like a hive mind thing where they're all like
Yes.
on the same frequency.
I like to think so. Some people think it's propaganda.
Well, I
but-
don't think they're like they
I
all
mean,
share.
in
like-
in the during the Oblivion Crisis, there was a moment where the hist kind of overtook all of the Argonians, and
Yes.
they said, "Yeah, we're gonna invade Oblivion now."
I don't think
Yeah.
the hiss ever like took its control of.
They
the
made them
Argonians.
superpowered, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, have you ever played Mass Effect 3? I think is it? Because there's this alien race that has a hive mind, and like
That's true, yeah.
yeah, is it 2? Okay.
Oh, the necromorphs.
Yeah, and so like the patriarch or whatever of this hive mind, he'll just like assuming direct control, and he like will control one particular alien, and he's like really strong, and you're like, oh fuck it, kill it.
Yeah. So
And,
that can happen, and it has happened, I guess.
yeah. So
Andrew, wasn't it that the Argonians were called back to fight during the Oblivion War? It wasn't that they were controlled; it's that they were all called back.
Yeah,
I kind of imagine it was both.
I would like to put in
They.
my 2 cents here.
Yep, you go.
I don't believe it's that the hist can actually assume control of Argonians. Rather, it's that there is a weak sort of hive mind between the hist and the Argonians connected to that particular history. So it's not really assuming direct control, but rather it's sending a certain feeling, a feeling of whatever emotion they need to be feeling in order to get them back. So in this case, it would be severe distress for your homeland.
I like the idea that the hist flexes a mental muscle, and like
Just
the eyes
flexes.
of the eyes of the Argonians like go blank, and they're like, "Yep, we're gonna go fuck shit up now." Like,
Yeah.
that's,
So
I can't remember
there
where I
is a
saw
lot
it.
of
Oh,
stuff in
sorry.
regards to the Argonians after the Oblivion Crisis. During and after the Oblivion Crisis, I've seen a lot of lore that's saying like, you know, that was the event that really
Reignited their sense of
identity. identity, exactly, and it rebuilt themselves. They started to rebuild themselves as a warrior nation, and that's where you start to get into the fourth era. I forget what they were called, but they're like the elite fighting.
Anzaleel.
Nixaleel.
That's the one. And
yeah,
you know, that's kind of that was the trigger for them invading Morrowind, essentially. Well, apart from the Red Year, but you know.
I would say be careful with the Anzaleel, because the Anzaleel also started slaughtering every non-Argonian.
Yeah, the Anzaleel are kind of
They're a little bit
extremists. Yeah. Also, I just want to go back for a second because I just remember that there is a point where we actually do see Hiss like influence Argonians in ESO during one of the dungeons, because in the ruins of Mazatun, the Hist has been essentially poisoned by it's unclear who, but it's presumed to be the Hiss priestess that poisoned it.
The Tree Minder.
Yeah, the Tree
I
Minder
believe is what they're called.
So in that quest, the Hist has gone a little bit crazy, and so all the Argonians in the tribe are upset with building walls, but they do retain some individuality. So it seems like the Hist does like influence them, but it doesn't like directly control them.
Yeah,
Basically,
the
like,
illusion of free will, basically. Or maybe not. Maybe you're. Yeah, I could see either being true though.
When the Argonians forced the Dremora generals to shut the Oblivion Gates, do you imagine that any of these Argonian behemoths were what the Hiss turned them into?
There's the potential, yes.
I think a certain amount of them, because sometimes you just need brute force to just.
I just imagine, you know, like 5 or 10 of these things, kind of like the trolls in Return of the King, breaking through Minas Tirith gates.
Rock it up, and
just
with a bunch of smaller Argonians riding on them.
Yeah,
that's a really good mental image.
Yeah, I would say not 5 or 10, but probably hundreds.
There you go. That's great.
I mean, that'd definitely take care of anything you need killed.
We don't need to take the sigil stone. Just knock the tower that it's in down.
Yeah,
just disassemble the entire Deadlands. It's fine.
Like if one prisoner can take down the entire of the Oblivion Gates, I'm sure an army of Argonians can do better.
I mean, I see, you know, legions of, you know, the Argonians that we're used to seeing, and the Naga and Argonian behemoths, and maybe other things that we haven't seen, just storming Oblivion, and the Daedra being like, yeah, this was really a bad idea.
Maybe some tamed Wamasu.
Some Wamasu. And like then they're like, are you guys seeing this? Is this happening over in your tower? What do you mean is it happening in our
that
tower?
lizard is spitting lightning.
We need to close these gates.
What if there's just one Oblivion Gate in Black Marsh they tried opening, and then suddenly the Deadlands just got filled with lizard camels?
Oh shit!
Just a bunch of lizard camels.
Just a bunch of lizard camels.
It's in my headcanon that Maik the Liar closes an Oblivion Gate, and the hero of Kvatch sees the gate shut down, and Maik walk out of it, and he turns and looks at him and says, "No one will ever believe you," and then he takes him into the wilderness.
I like it a lot.
I think this comic earlier. It was basically. Sorry. Michael, go ahead.
Speaking of Maik, has anyone actually tried to explain in canon why the fuck he's so fucking old?
Why who's old?
Maik.
He's
part
not.
of Lorechat.
He's not old. As we know, Maik always takes a wife and has a son and names his son Maik. And then Maik names his son Maik. And then Maik names his son Maik. And then Maik names his son Maik.
I thought his father's name was Kiam.
All right, so here's the other thing with that.
What?
It would make the concept of Maik will always name his son Maik, and then he actually does it. Totally makes sense then makes total sense as to why Maik is always a Katherot, except in Morrowind where he's a Sutherot.
Yeah.
Except
Michael, what were you saying?
That means someone would want
there
apparently
was a period where Maik was named Kiam, but yeah, my headcanon on it, and I think it's awesome, and therefore it's not headcanon, it's the truth, is that Maik the Liar is Lorechat on pilgrimage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Look,
You're out of your depth, Mur.
True.
Lorechat steps into the ring once again.
So
You're
Jack,
you're on Nern. He's never not in the equation.
We're literally walking.
False, he's in space. We all know this.
in space.
Oh, guys, I found. Hang on, I need to get back to Facebook. I found the image of the main, the planet, or the moon.
Does he look like a koosh ball surrounded in cocaine?
No, it's a hairball.
Michael,
Hang on.
can you send it?
I'm gonna do it. I can't access, for whatever reason, I can't access the chat that's in the Hangout, so I'm gonna put it in the Dream Sleep page on Facebook. Yeah, I don't know why. Go figure.
If you do that, one of us can transfer it to here.
Okay, give me a second. I'll put it in the in Andrew's post about the Lorechat. Give me a second here.
Hey, I'll be right back, everybody.
That's about to be a great picture. Just post informing everyone about the Lorechat, and then just a picture of a planet.
This one feels as though perhaps you are not.
It's not a planet, it's a moon.
It feels that perhaps you don't have the Khajiit up.
I'm terribly sorry. All right, once again, I'm terribly sorry if my voice sounds like I don't have Khajiit love, because I actually do like the Khajiit. My voice is just unfortunately naturally sarcastic.
Oh man, that's a very big mood.
All right. Let's see here.
Sometimes I can't
Now-
tell if people think I'm being sarcastic and I'm not.
Did you do
So
it?
I have to say that I don't know who drew this. This was given to me by Adam Fields, aka the Oldie Bard, who was in the Elsewhere mod. But he may not have drawn it. It is now in that chat. And his favorite line whenever he showed this to people was, "That's not a moon."
That's no moon.
That's no moon.
And what is that? Is that the main?
That is the main in his divine aspect. That is, in
Where did
other
you
words,
put
the third moon.
Where did you put it?
Dream Sleeve group on the Facebook page.
Oh, Dream Sleep. Okay.
There.
Now I'm on Telmora. I can't find anything.
There we go.
Oh, I see.
oh, okay.
And again, I'm not sure who the artist is. I don't think it's Sofa Sil. That might be one of Adam's.
Yeah, it doesn't look like theirs.
Where is it? Just in the group?
Yeah, Dream Sleeve group, and then Andrew had a post of it says Lorechat.
Oh,
and
cool.
a comment.
Ah, that does look neat.
It is pretty groovy.
Looks like a woodcut.
I need your input. I'm adding user flair for the test lore subreddit. I've got Greybeard and Dragon Priest. What else should I add?
Oh no!
What?
Come on, Josh.
I'd like to ask something. So, as we all know, Oriel is time,
Mhm.
and Fenaster taught the Aldmer how to live longer by shortening their stride.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
By extension, does that mean that Fenaster is flexing on time?
Well, those Altmer take really long strides, so I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
They took even longer strides once
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, I guess so. That's really flexing.
Just imagine them when they get to a set of stairs,
Oh,
taking like
They take
6 steps
five.
at a time.
No, they take 5 steps at a time because 5 is a good number.
Yeah, maintaining dominance, for sure.
T-posing to assert dominance.
So I'd like to throw out there that that idea that he taught them to take. What was the exact wording?
I believe it was to shorten your stride.
To shorten
Yeah.
your stride. Okay. So you can make that literal, and we can all kind of laugh.
We can
and
all
laugh
kind of
and
chuckle about it.
chuckle about it. But I think knowing lore and the people who write lore and all that stuff, there's probably something else going on there.
Oh yeah, no, I believe I explained this in the group chat, and of course, not everyone here might be in the group chat, so I'd be happy to explain here if anyone would like.
Yeah,
Sure.
please do.
Okay, so the way I look at it is, if you think about walking from a metaphysical sense, walking is getting from point A to point B. Now, of course, if you take long strides, you're not going to be paying attention to the ground as much. You're not going to see things as often. You are much more likely to end up tripping on something that you may have seen. In the sense that Finaster is telling people, he's telling the Aldmer, you must shorten your stride in order to live longer, he's effectively telling them, take things slowly so that you can actually see outcomes before they happen and thus avoid them. In this sense, think of the fact that Altmer are very slow to adopt ideas. That does not mean they won't adopt new ideas, but they are quite slow to adopt ideas.
Yeah.
Peer-reviewed studies before we change our toilet paper.
Exactly. If I'm using 2-ply toilet paper and you start saying, hey, you should use 1-ply toilet paper, it's really great, look at all of us using it, I would effectively say, well, I'd like to know the ramifications of 1-ply toilet paper first. And if the ramifications turns out that 1-ply toilet paper is horrible and you're wasting more toilet paper than 2-ply, then I'm not going to change. I'm going to keep with 2-ply.
And insult the people that suggested otherwise.
Exactly, because they were wrong.
So this is about lore how?
I was explaining
Longer strides.
I'm so sorry, Andrew. Did you not catch any of that? Did you not catch the first half of that?
No, I'm modifying the user flare in the test lore subreddit.
Okay, so my explanation. So to explain, I started that off explaining the physical version and the metaphorical version of Finaster telling the Aldmer to shorten their stride.
Okay, yeah, no, I did catch some of that. I think.
Yeah.
Alcohol.
Oh,
Yeah,
delicious.
that makes sense though. It's all coming together.
It's effectively that the Aldmer, and by extension the Altmer, they much prefer knowing the ramifications of something before they do it. Now, of course, when you get into experimentation, it can get very difficult to do that, but that's why it's experimentation and not just living life.
Hey, Michael.
Yo.
What's the name? Is there a collective name of the Khajiit religion? Like, are you a moon priest or
Yeah, you would be a moon priest or moon's priest.
Moon bishop Hunal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess it would be
I assume there's priests as well as bishops.
So moon's bishop.
Yeah. So the weird thing about the Khajiit religion in ESO is that it does bear a lot of similarities to Catholicism, which I was totally not expecting.
Yeah. Really?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Wait, and you said it has a lot of similarities to what now?
Roman Catholicism.
Oh, okay.
One of the more interesting ones. It deals with the Dromathra. In give me a second. It's the one that Moon Bishop Hanal writes. What's the book? Anyway,
Trail and Tide, that one?
Not that one. It's the one that deals specifically with Dromathra. He talks about that there are
Littermates of Darkness.
Thank you, Littermates of Darkness. That there are true cats and bent cats, and then he goes on to explain the difference. And his idea of the bent cat follows almost exactly with St. Augustine's concept of sin as a bending. See also C.S. Lewis in his Space Trilogy.
I wonder if they did that just for you.
I very much doubt that. But I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, I am a huge C.S. Lewis fan, but that was a real surprise.
C.S. Lewis Space Time.
I prefer Tolkien.
I mean, why not both? I mean,
you do Tolkien?
Not both.
There's definitely some Tolkien stuff with I'm all over Ungoliant and the Mirror. I'm writing a piece, and it was going to take forever.
Are you going to shove Tolkien in a locker?
What did you say?
I may have misheard some of what you said in retrospect, but are you going to shove Tolkien in a locker?
Can we please do that?
No, that's not what I said.
By the way, Mac, I just read. I'm rereading Lord of the Rings, and I just read about Shelob last night, and it was glorious.
Isn't that bit about her wanting nothing more than to devour all life and then death herself at the end? That is so Namira.
It really is.
That's
And by
badass.
extension, Ungoliant.
That's like I am become.
Death, destroyer of worlds.
Yeah.
The trick though.
Isn't that from the Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah.
The trick is.
It's from that, and I believe it's also a quote someone used after they tested the first atomic bomb.
Wait a minute. What is it, Michael?
The trick is that Ungoliant and thereby extension, Shelob are negative figures, but Namira to the Khajiit is not. But then again, Khajiit theology is really weird. Like, I mean, Namira is like a bad figure to everybody except the Khajiit.
Rot is really good.
She's more than that, though.
That's true.
I was saying that to Dan.
Yeah,
I just
she's
have a lot of feelings
Dan,
about
read
it.
the stuff I tagged you in on Facebook, man.
She's
Don't do it.
She's the guardian of the ostracized, and you hear that especially in the Oblivion quest, where she's like, I have to protect my children from these priests of Arche who have invaded our home, and etc. etc. Yeah, she's. I mean, it definitely gets weird, but she's a really interesting figure, especially from the viewpoint of the Khajiit.
I'm remembering the Fudge Muppet thing, and as weird as Fudge Muppet may get at times, they did bring up a concept that the moment you stop being ostracized, she stopped caring about you. How do you feel about that?
They have no evidence for that
that
claim.
If you have a group that was once watched over by Namira because they were the ostracized, but then they start becoming accepted into society, would Namira still watch over them?
Yeah, they have no evidence for that claim, and my whole thing on Namira being the caretaker of the bent and the broken, what mortal is not bent or broken? It's just a lie you're telling yourself to say otherwise. From her perspective.
Yeah, from her perspective, definitely. And
I'm trying to think of a really jokey answer. I'm sorry.
That goes with the whole thing about her as the great darkness and Jungian psychology, and one cannot achieve enlightenment by drawing figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, etc.
Drawing figures of dicks in the stars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
I tried looking for. I got a copy of the Bhagavad Gita in that fucking bookshelf back there somewhere, and I couldn't find it. I have so much shit in that bookshelf.
I quote that all the time for stuff.
I really should take a picture of my theology and you go through. I think you'd be horrified. I have way too many books, man.
Michael, this was something I wanted to ask you about because I was reading through some Khajiit literature. Moon Bishop Hunal, and he says that Khenarthi will watch over true cats until the next pounce. Is this afterlife or reincarnation?
The next pounce would be we probably think of as reincarnation. I would say.
You say weed, like, does that mean the Khajiit consider it something else?
Okay, so like the basic idea is souls in the Mundus, when they die, return to the dream sleep where they're stripped of memory and reduced to soul stuff, and then they are recycled into other personalities.
I wonder if that's a reference to what's his name? Carl
Sagan?
Carl Sagan, yeah. As he talked about how people are star stuff. Soul stuff, star stuff.
I mean, technically all the light from the sun is just star stuff in Tess. Like Magicka is star stuff, and Magicka is the fifth element within Tamriel and Mundus and whatnot.
The reason I ask, go ahead.
I was just going to say that then where I land on that is it sounds to me like the Khajiit are saying, yeah, that is true, and then there is a next pounce, which would kind of make sense. I think one of the things I wanted to say earlier, especially to Charlie, was that I think the real divide between the Altmer view and the Khajiit view can really be seen in the concept of walking. For the Khajiit, there's a Greek word peripateo, and it literally means to walk, but over the years it became to mean walk without purpose or walk without the destination. Or wander is not a bad translation. Maybe not the best, but if you ever hear of something being peripatetic, that's what it means. And the Khajiit are peripatetic. They just enjoy the journey wherever it leads them, and that would include the next pounds. That's how I interpret it.
Similarity to them and the Argonians with their idea of just go with the course of the river.
Yeah, well, yeah, Taoism. Yeah, absolutely.
I still
go with the flow.
That's something one of the best things, not just in Murkmire, but even in the base game. You'll occasionally hear, I believe you'll occasionally hear marauders and bandits and whatnot, and you can overhear them saying, "The only fish who go with the course of the river are dead ones."
Say that one more time. You broke up on me.
Uh-oh.
Only dead fish go with the course of the river.
Yeah,
Oh,
only
wow.
dead fish go with the course of the river. Which is basically the whole thing of them saying you need to fight against the flow of river, make him forge your own destiny. But in a really, really horrible way.
Yeah, there's a very horrible way.
Happen through violence.
Well, I mean, if Pelennor taught them anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an interesting fellow. People say he's Terminator or something, right?
He's a fellow.
He's a ghost.
He's a bad lad.
Charlie the elf stands are like, yeah, he's a.
He's a gay cyborg with a laser for a hand.
From the future, yes.
From the future.
Nice.
How could you
He's
not
also
love this
kind of
character?
Jesus.
Michael, how could you love him?
Why don't I
don't.
love him? Maybe it's because he started slaughtering elves indiscriminately.
Well, I mean, there is that.
Thank you. Thank you. I was gonna say that.
And
It's kind of like the same
not
way
only
I
did he
like
slaughter elves indiscriminately, his existence has also led to a an imperial priestess in the mid-year mayhem event just talking to an entire crowd of elves about how you need to slaughter the elves, and the Imperials know who their true allies are.
Awesome.
And by the end of it, despite the fact that her good friend there is trying to tell her, "Look, you need to moderate yourself," her response is, "We strive to be like Pendle, who is never a moderate, and besides, we talk to soldiers who understand loyalty and know that to distrust an elf is just common in Tamriel."
Fucking hell.
That's great.
It's just common
That's really
sense.
she was soon slaughtered.
No,
That
I
gets a
don't.
big yikes from me, bro.
The reason I like Pelennor is the same reason why I like Dessert. Nasty person, but a really good character and villain.
Yeah.
He's absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I look at it. And Mac, I don't love Pelennor because why would I love him? But I'm saying in general,
I was gonna say, Michael, he slaughtered our people.
he did. But then he got his butt kicked. Then he got his butt kicked because he forgot that. Well, dragons are just really big cats, and Alkosh showed up and decided to teach him a lesson. But anyway, my point was,
Absolutely.
no, he is a really fascinating character, and
Definitely.
Yeah, he is a really neat character. I just, don't have a whole lot of love for him. That's to be expected.
well, I mean that makes sense.
I don't either.
Me and Charlie waiting for the second coming of Umaril.
Not a big fan of Emeril either, but that's another issue.
No.
Who kills Debellan priests? Come on, man.
I know,
And
right?
priests-
When is
what's
Millennial
wrong
gonna-
with
Listen,
you?
And as well
Listen,
as
those
Mara's.
Debellan priests are a bunch of teases.
Fine.
Bloody hell.
That's because you mistake her for a sanguinic brothel.
Yes.
Exactly.
Preach it.
All right, let me ask you this.
As
Mara is the goddess of love. What is Debella?
Sex.
Their spheres
And
overlap.
They're not the same
She's sex,
thing.
but then her teachings also say not
No.
to marry sex.
No.
Wait a
no,
minute.
no,
Her, yeah,
Aesthetics.
no, that's not true at all.
Debella, Debella is love's expression.
Yeah.
That
Not so
totally doesn't also fall under Mara's sphere at all.
Absolutely not.
Doesn't Mac? Doesn't Debella orbit Mara in the orrery?
I'm not sure if it. Let me look it
Do
up
I
real
have
quick.
that? Let me see if I have that. I think I have it here somewhere.
It would be
Actually,
really
I'll put
weird
down
if she
with
orbits. All right, so that's something I do want to bring
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
She
she orbits Mara, and Mara orbits Zenithar, which is a whole weird thing. But
Yeah. Okay, so that's something I kind of want to bring up. in Altmer culture, there are 4 very important numbers: 3, 5, 8, and 16. 3 is important because it represents the prime celestials, that being the sun and the 2 moons. 5 is important because it represents the 5 elements: water, earth, fire, air, and ether. 8 is important because it represents the 8 planets, and it also is 3 and 5 added together. And then finally, the reason 16 is important, you might be able to guess it, it's because it's all 3 numbers put together. Now,
I thought fire wasn't an element because the aliens thought it was a corrupted form of light.
yeah, but that's the aliens talking, so they can shut up. As rude as that may sound, it's the whole concept of the aliens would view it more as light is the elements, whereas the Aldmer and Altmer probably view it more as fire is the element, and light is the production, and light is a byproduct of fire.
Yeah.
Light's a child of fire kind of thing.
Yeah. So here's the thing. 8 represents the 8 planets. Now, of course, according to the Imperial religion, the Imperial cult, 8 is of course the 8 planets, and they're referring to all the planets that you can see. And it's, coincidentally, look, it's all the gods that we worship. But let's think about this for a moment. If you have planets orbiting other planets, suddenly those stop being planets and those start being satellites.
Yep.
So that becomes a very strange case of, are those actually planets? Or are those just satellites and thus the Imperials are wrong?
They're planes of reality, actually.
I mean,
Then
no, I don't
again-
think any planet actually orbits the sun is the thing.
Yeah. Unless, of course,
Right.
we assume that the sun itself is technically a 3D hole, and therefore the planets do actually orbit it. It's just that it's really weird to think about things orbiting a 3D hole.
Do Imperials have that complex of a astronomical science, though? Do they understand the difference between planets and satellites?
Well, I mean, the Dwemer even have a corresponding to the Imperial religion.
Yeah, you
As
guys,
far as numbers and all.
we've talked about that there aren't planets in tests. There are planes of reality.
Yeah.
They're
mortal-
perceived as spherical.
But mortal minds can't perceive infinite planes, and so we view them as planets.
What's the
I guess
most
we might have talked
infinite?
about that. I might not
What's
have
the
been
most
around for
infinite
that.
thing that mortal minds can grasp? A sphere.
Yeah, they can't. They like mortal minds can grasp a sphere because Mundus is a sphere. Mundus is actually finite. It's not infinite. Like
You mean Nern?
What did I say? Mundus? Yeah, Nern. I'm sorry. Yeah, Nern. I've been trying to use. I've been
Is
trying to use
Mundus
Mundus.
infinite?
I would. I don't know, because then you start talking about the moons, and the moons are weird.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I would say that there
tells
could
with
be the potential that Mundus is infinite, but at that point, it honestly does depend on.
No, it's ruled over by Lorcan, who's the limitation.
Yeah.
No. Think of it like
fair
this.
point.
Think that Mundus is infinite in that if you don't go towards any of the stars and you just keep going, you will never leave Mundus.
Well, the trick with it is that the moons. Okay, I'm gonna get a little deep here for a second. So the trick. So okay, all of this stuff. There is a book in the Imperial Library called Cosmology, and if you haven't read it, you really, really need to. And
Yeah, it's great.
it's pretty great, and that's where it talks about stress of mortal stress, and not being able to perceive infinite planes and stuff like that. But it also talks about how time gets weird in the moons, and my take on it is that the Mundus, Nern exists within the Mundus. The Mundus is Nern and the moons, and that Nern exists within what we would call a warp field drive, basically a warp field, which is why time acts differently in the rest of the Arbus than it does in Nern. It's almost like Nern itself it's not a pocket plane, but you could think of it that way. And that's why time operates a little bit differently, and why when you get to the warp field barrier, which is the moons, time gets funky.
Okay.
I don't think I would say Nern is infinite, though.
No, probably not.
No, it is not.
Yeah, Nern is infinite insofar as there's kind of a limitation to how many dreamers you can get on one planet before other dreamers
Well,
just stop dreaming.
I think that's a misrepresentation of dreamers, because Nirn, like a Nirn is not bigger than the dreamers. Nirn is only what exists within Anu's dream. If you go to another dream, well, you could have Arda instead, and hey, here's Middle Earth. If you go to another dream, you could have, here's Dragon Age. I don't know much about Dragon Age, but there it is.
I love that explanation.
Those don't exist on Nirn. They are separate dreams. They're separate realities. And so, like, Akavir is very related to Elder Scrolls, and so it may take place on its own Nirn, but it doesn't have to. You know what I mean? Whereas Anu looks at Akavir and goes, "Oh yeah, that's a thing that exists. So that exists on my little planet in my dream." I mean, that's how I see it, at least. I try not. I try not to share my my own headcanons as objective fact, but sometimes
it's objective fact to you.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
See, test lore and the Elder Scrolls subreddit, they can't figure that shit out.
That's their problem, man. We're over here having a fun
I
time.
gotta moderate one of those.
Oh shit! Fuck. Okay,
So
maybe it
that
is your
is
problem.
Well,
My
that
problem
sounds like
on
a self-made problem.
I accepted it, yeah.
Took on that responsibility. A noble goal.
But I mean, it also gives the Telmora, it gives the Dream Sleeve more exposure, and
I made the slight mistake of going onto Testlore yesterday.
yeah.
I saw a post by a man by the name of, I believe, Khaleesi Slayer.
Oh my.
And his post made me quite upset.
Yeah, Khaleesi Slayer.
Is he the orc guy?
Yeah, Khaleesi Slayer's. I don't know what's up with that dude. That girl, I don't know.
That person there.
That person, yeah.
Notorious.
Yeah, no, I see their comments all the time.
Layman Tuttle apparently browses Tesla a lot.
Who does?
Layman Tuttle, he's the senior writer for ESO, and we're Twitter mutuals.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
That was a nice humble brag.
And then, Belle, are you friends with Lawrence Schick at all?
On Facebook, but
Facebook, yeah. Okay.
I haven't talked to him yet. But I've occasionally passed dialogue with him.
Okay, yeah, because all right. So we're on the same wavelength here.
I got a question.
Yeah.
About Anu and Padme. I don't know.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
this question I asked last time, but maybe we've thought about it a bit more. Is there a connection between Anakin and Padme and Anu and Padme?
Perhaps.
I remember you saying that in one of the previous chats.
I think it's going the opposite way than you're implying, because Anu actually stems from Dark Souls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dark Souls, like the higher subgradient god. His name is Anu. I think it's also Middle Earth too. If
I always forget that.
No,
Eru. Eru.
Yeah.
I've never really played Dark Souls, so
Yeah. So it's a Dark Souls thing.
It's a time.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think Anu is a top god in like Sumerian mythology or something.
Okay. That may be where originally.
Okay.
That does make more sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Ancient Mesopotamia, Anu is the supreme deity, and particularly related to the sky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sky Father, King of the Gods, Lord of the Constellations, which is just a badass title.
That
I want
is
that
sweet.
title.
And then you have Danu in Celtic mythology.
Well, Padme is an interesting name, anyways. Unique.
It is that.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna get some food, but this has been a good chat, you guys. Good 2 hours, I think. Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm glad you
please.
had a wonderful time here, Jonathan.
yeah. But
Give a
my
thumbs up
second
for
time, I
the
think.
camera.
But yeah,
Always.
thanks for
always
being
good
here,
time.
y'all.
Yep. Thanks for coming. Good time.
Yeah, of
Later.
course. See you guys
Take care.
next week.
Yeah.
Have a
How
good
late?
night.
How late is it?
It's 1 a.m. almost.
Yeah,
Cool.
it is 9:48 right now where I am. Perch
So-
being on the west side.
Same here.
11:48 here.
4:45 in the afternoon.
Hey, Bell, check Facebook.
All right.
12:51.
Oh man, you're up late, Michael.
I am.
I'm
Well,
halfway
the-
done.
I'm sorry I keep doing this.
The best part about all of this is that while we're here talking about what any of the things we're talking about, Karen is playing Minecraft, and she has created this absolutely beautiful lakeside villa, and it's just
Ooh.
awesome.
That sounds lovely.
Very
It
nice.
really is. She's
I
awesome.
recently realized that in Minecraft, because I used to have a realm that I could play in, and I had a map that I played in. I probably spent 4 years on the city. It is this
Wow.
gigantic, like Japanese themed city,
Oh,
and I've got an enormous palace and a giant tower and like a temple and all kinds of shit. There's buildings all over the place.
Only imagine, because your house is like pretty decked out.
Oh yeah, no, like I've got a dojo full of boken, like yeah, and that's like it's super legit. And I realized I could download that from Realms, and my hard drive crashed maybe a few months ago,
Oh, no.
and so I lost that map. But I was able to re-download it from the internet, and
Nice.
I could go to the place I spent so much time in.
That's
And
awesome.
it was really kind of a homecoming, and it was really nice. But since then, I've been like, wow, what am I doing on this new map? Like, I'm wasting so much time. It killed my drive to play Minecraft, because like, how can I top this?
I broke into your house yesterday after I was doing Cyrodiil.
Mhm.
Oh, I just snuck up behind you and I was like, "Hello."
Yeah.
That
No,
wasn't in game. That was in real
At first,
life.
I was like, who the fuck is this? I recognize your name, and then like I looked like at my friends. It was like, oh, Serpentine. Oh, hey.
There's a 6'4" alien in my house. Like,
Yeah. I like when people visit me.
I think the best thing recently was the fact that Andrew completely forgot that we had gone to Skyreach like within the past month.
What?
well, I could have blinked that out.
I didn't forget. What?
You're in Cragor.
Yeah, or my joke there being
Right.
I
don't
I
remember
brought up that
forgetting
there were
about
like some
that.
dungeons that I wanted to do,
Yeah.
and Andrew said, "Are you on PC, Charlie?" Having completely forgotten that we
Yeah.
as a trio had gone
I
to
talked to-
Cragmore recently.
I talk to so many people in a given amount of time. I can't keep track of who's on what, so I just like I discard the information. I start fresh like every day.
I know, I do too. I have like really bad memory problems. I just info dump.
Like I know Michael is on PS4 for the most part, but he has an account on PC.
I'm gonna add everyone.
Which I never use.
Yeah, you're never on,
I
and
see.
it's a great sadness.
Everyone
I'm sorry.
I mean,
Sadness, Michael. What have you done to us?
I'm basically in like this rivalry with Todd Damrath with champion points. I'm constantly trying to like outstrip him in champion points.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, we've been neck and neck for a couple months now.
Really?
Oh yeah. He'll be ahead of me for a day or two, and then I'll jump ahead of him for a day or two, and we just like keep passing each other. Because I've been saying,
It's at this point. It's at this point I should point out that my main PS4 character, yeah, I have CP 875.
nice. See, I want to get that. I'm in like the sevens. I'm in the 760s. I think.
That's not bad,
The
bro.
other day, I was
somewhere in the fours.
I'm
I'm
getting
like slightly above 300.
I was on 420 for about 2 days.
I bet you were.
1,600.
There's
Good Aussie Kush.
I did start playing it.
there's people I play with who have
I'm gonna be right back.
1,000.
Jeez.
There's people I have that play with who have CP 1,000.
Considering we've only been able to do that since like earlier this year or last year. Oh god, it's 2019.
Oh, UESP, we need to have a talk about this.
Oh no, what do you do now?
Oh, boy.
Skooma is not an export from elsewhere. Thank you very much.
No, it is not.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
UASP, what the fuck are you doing?
That's a racist. Not all cats drink skooma.
Not all
Some
cats
Skooma was developed by the Dunmo, so that'd be a trick.
Yeah.
Hey, some cats drink beer, not just skooma.
Oh man, beer with skooma in it. That'd be good.
People
I
got
can't
all
hold that.
up in arms about
I
the
thought
jilt.
they'd more be likely to enjoy like mead because it's more sweet.
Well, speaking of beer, this has been fucking delicious. I just want you to know that.
Yay!
Good.
That's like
I'm
maple syrup, Scotch ale.
Ooh.
Oh
That
man,
sounds delightful.
it really is. Like I'm a fan of anything barrel aged, and this is barrel aged with
Personally,
maple
I'm
syrup.
more of a fan of like spirits, whiskey, and
See, I'm kind of a beer nerd.
yeah.
We
I
know.
noticed.
I know. I like just the nuances and just trying new things, and I'm very adventurous, you know. I'll like I said, even with food, anything I can put in my body, I'm very adventurous.
All right.
Sanguine wants to know
make a
your
lot of
location.
comments.
That's right.
Oh no.
Now, we now know that the truth is that Andrew is a sanguine worshiper.
Yep.
Hey, you know, all right.
Visited
Okay.
Prime,
That's not
Alright.
exactly a
Parties,
bad thing, but it's also not a good thing
enjoyed it.
either.
I
It's
mean-
pretty neutral.
No,
No,
I
it's pretty bad. Read
I
his
wrote-
the
depends on the
deal.
product.
It's pretty terrifying.
yeah, I wrote a horror story about this.
I loved it. It was extremely.
Oh, it's a good one,
what I
yeah.
was feeling
It's
like the
fantastic.
similarities with
Yeah, I mean, you
Hellraiser. Actually,
just got to be careful with your hedonism, you know. That's
do not open.
You can't
any
do
puzzle
that and
boxes
worship
that Sanguine
sanguine
gives you.
though. There's no caution.
well. See,
Yeah.
the character in that, he said, I want beer, or I want drink, I want food, I want women, and that's it. He
So that's
didn't-
all he gets.
Yeah, that's what he gets, and it keeps coming. Like it never stops
That
coming
sounds
because
like
he
a tough
It doesn't
smile
start
thing.
coming.
I-
either.
like you
I
said,
want a
sanguine-
reasonable. See, if he had put it, I want a reasonable amount of.
There's no such
of-
thing as a reasonable amount.
I was gonna say to
Of course
that,
there is. If
not
you,
to sanguine.
if you're talking to Sanguine and you set that limit, oh sure, dude. Like, yeah. But
don't think
if
he
you
would
don't
go for
set
that.
a
No,
limit-
he would
if
go
you-
for that. In
if
that
you-
he,
yeah, absolutely.
I have a feeling Sanguine would absolutely understand your own limits.
Yeah, you just have
Yeah,
to
I feel like
tell
Sanguine
him
has a
about
safe word.
that. You have to tell him because otherwise
He's very monkey's paw
he's,
that way. Yeah.
he's going to give you infinite pleasures and you will be stuck in hell. Like, it sounds nice, sure. But
When
no,
push comes to shove, it kind of
Yeah.
gets pretty crap.
a little more shove than push, yeah.
Do the movie.
There's a lot of places
Yeah.
you could go with like the downside to Sanguine that get extremely dark very quickly.
Oh yeah, no, and that's what I love about Sanguine. That's what that's why I wrote the deal first.
Well, I mean,
Because-
sanguine is a terribly dark god in the Khajiit pantheon.
Yeah.
You should be.
Isn't he like the literal god of blood or
Because,
something?
Yeah, he's
I
the
mean-
blood cat.
Because like I enjoy my beer, right? I enjoy my beer, but I really only have like one drink a night. I never really
Sanguine
exceed
land.
that. You know, like I don't like to get drunk. I hate being drunk. I like to get a little buzzed. Okay, that's nice. I'm okay with that. You know, get that relaxation in my shoulders or whatever. I like the nuance of, this has the maple syrup and I can taste it. It's delicious and I love it. And it's barrel aged and it's fantastic.
I love this lore.
Yeah, no, I like good food. I made pork chops the other day with a sour cherry vinaigrette, and it was delicious.
Nice.
It was delicious.
You should work with me. I work at a nice upscale cafe, and all I do is just eat food in the back, and we talk about memes.
Oh man, that sounds awesome.
My job is so relaxed. Like it's so funny. And my manager plays like a lot of WoW, and he also likes the Elder Scrolls.
Oh, okay.
The other day, like we were, and a lot of the people like that we work with like don't really know a lot about video games, but they're still kind of like nerds in their own ways.
Yeah, everyone's a nerd. Our generation made being a nerd cool.
Yeah, but see, I wanted all the nerd points for whenever I was a loser, like in school. But anyways, I digress. So, basically, like we were doing QA in the back, like because the food's coming out, we're just looking at it to make sure everything looks nice, and like I was kind of on backup for Claire, really doing anything, and he just looks at me and he goes, "Belle, how did the swimmer disappear?"
You ready to have this conversation?
Are you really ready for this?
Oh man!
I was like,
Charlie, can you see the chat?
What?
Can you see the chat?
Oh yeah, I can see the chat.
Okay, yeah, there's the Sangan stuff I was telling you about.
All right, thanks. I am sorry. I sent Belle a half-done picture of Finester flexing on time, and I'm currently still working on it.
TLDR, he's the god of snuff films in the PG culture.
A picture of like all of the things happening with like the Sithis being like the frames of the image.
Oh yes. I can absolutely send that. Let me go grab it.
I lost it. And I was like, this is like a perfect like example.
Where was it?
Wow, I have.
No, just gonna... All right, so I'm posting it into the Google chat. To anyone else who hasn't seen this yet, please go ahead and take a look at that picture.
Is this that same picture that you share all the time?
Oh,
yes, it is the same picture that I share all the time. Belle lost it.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. You put this fucking everywhere, and I'm tired of seeing it now.
Look, I'm sorry, I'm not going to post it anymore.
I love it. I asked for it though, so.
Yeah, blame her.
Jack, is that not me? This image. I'm gonna save it.
See, I only have that much of this beer left.
Aww.
You only have that much of this beer left, and you still have another 5 hours on this Lorecast.
Yeah, you might be. Yeah.
Don't go much longer than 3 hours, like ever.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure one time, even though we went offline or off live after a while, I'm fairly certain we ended up staying in a call for a good 6 hours.
Yeah, I was there.
I don't know about that. Like
That's crazy.
You logged off, Andrew. Dan, wasn't it you, me, and Charlie that were the last three? Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. That was the one where I was like running. We were running. I was running White Bull Tower a lot, so I was in voice chat.
Oh my god, this smells so good. I'm just here sniffing my beer. It's weird.
That's fine.
You look like you're having such a
smells
good
like
time.
they're having a barbecue or
I
something.
really am. I mean,
Well, I did go to being.
I think about. Oh, I should make some popcorn. That sounds awesome.
You're sniffing your beer. Belle's drawing Odoving. I'm drawing Finester in a hilarious pose.
I'm gonna draw the.
We're all having good times.
I will do Durnavir too.
I have to say I am disappointed that we've spent this entire thing looking at a dragon, and we haven't talked about the fact that dragons are just really big cats.
I'm surprised we haven't talked about the fact that dragons are apparently going to be a thing in the Elsewhere chapter.
Have you seen How to Train Your Dragon? Toothless is a cat.
Right.
They based its movements off a cat, didn't they?
Exactly. Yeah, they did.
And Michael, I don't know what you're looking at, but Belle's drawn a very lovely tiger.
That's
Yes.
oh. Truly, yes.
One of my friends actually drew the Capotun
Can you
dragon.
tilt your head like you can see it?
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I've had you like presented to everyone for the last couple hours.
I like
Yeah.
how it says on my Google Hangout. It says you are presenting to everyone. I'm like,
Oh, does it tell you? Okay.
no, it just says it, but it's like you are presenting to everyone. I'm like,
Because
That's a very weird way of putting it.
yeah,
Please don't.
it's a nice
Almost
backdrop.
exhibitionist.
Put that away.
It's a nice backdrop for lore
I
discussion.
want to see.
you know?
Okay, so like, I was doing a bunch of like pose practices, like gestural studies, because I had to like loosen up, and I was like, man, all the female gestural studies are like kind of like they're weirdly anatomically incorrect in ways, where it's like they just get really big hips and butt. So like,
Yep.
I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that with my male character. And so
Do it.
I'm just gonna load this up for you guys whenever it wants to read the.
What kind of initiative? Everything.
This is my main.
Oh my god, yes.
I love it.
Oh, that's great.
What is this, Belle?
What?
What is this? Like,
That was my. That's my.
Bye, Jack.
That's the one that I was using when we were doing Skyhold. I'm just
Do you
like.
have any holes in your commission schedule?
I'm actually thinking about it, opening up a few.
Because Maury needs the pole dancer treatment for obvious reasons.
Okay, I think I might accept that.
Hey,
Go for that.
Well, there goes the monetization. As if we ever had that in the first place.
I don't even really draw like lewd art, but it's like sometimes I just gotta.
But that kind of stuff is
It's
just
not even that
Right.
though. It's like it's a
Very
beautiful
strongly.
like cheesecake pinup, and I really like that look.
what did you say about cheesecakes?
And make it.
I also like
cheesecake
cheesecakes.
pinup.
I'll print it out and make it into an anime pillow and mail everyone one personally.
Hell yeah!
Oh my.
Oh god, what even would like a body pillow of Maury look like? I'm pretty sure it's just like a sack full of sticks and rocks and knives occasionally.
Jack, I
It's
didn't
like
realize
the
Jack
worst
left,
thing to hug.
and he sent me a message saying my fucking foot hit the power button on my computer.
Oh no, Jack!
My Jack is gone.
Oh, rip.
Oh no.
Probably really late right
Jack.
Oh, and that actually just happened just now. Like, I cursed him with the forbidden Corentin pinup.
Forbidden pole dancing.
That's Adeline's fucking ancestor right there.
Yeah.
Well, this is all very impressive since I remember when Odaving here was a few purple smudges.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just. This is actually a
We
really
got to
weird
see
thing
how red happens.
to me because it's really like, look at that. What am I doing?
You are
What am I
detailing.
doing with my
You
life?
zoom out though, it looks nice, but you're like, oh god, oh.
You're using
Say
Illustrator,
that.
right?
No, I use pirated Photoshop because fuck them and their stupid fucking
Heck
licenses.
yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I've got like a cracked copy of Portable.
I
or
have a
something.
bunch of friends from Blizzard. In fact, I have enough like diplomatic community at Blizzard that I can just walk
Ren.
right into the Hey Ren.
Ren?
Wait,
Where, Ren?
was
Who
Ren?
is
in?
Ren?
Oh, that was
Where is
me.
Ren?
I said hi to Bran.
I thought you said my friend.
Bran.
Yeah, I thought it was Ren too.
Ren already went to bed.
No, Bran is my cat.
Oh, okay.
Aw. He's
One
the
of my
one that stares at the Christmas tree like it's Azura, right?
Yeah,
It is.
he's
It
the
is.
one who worships the Christmas tree.
How do we know that the traditional representation of Azura isn't a Christmas tree?
That is-
Prove
Because
it's not.
because she's a cat.
But she's pretty, and there's
Actually,
nothing prettier to a
phone
cat
going
than a
off?
Christmas tree.
Actually, I could probably make the argument that the Christmas tree is a traditional symbol of Meridia.
Ah,
That's where my phone went off.
That's
God
good.
damn it, ESO. Anyway.
No, but anyway, yeah, we have 9 cats, 8 cats,
Fuck.
9 cats.
I'm
We have a
impressed.
lot, and we have a rescue right now. Her name is Callie. She's a tortie,
Oh, I have
and
Michael, I have no idea why you're the cat guy.
right. And anyway, Callie's pregnant, and so we're not sure when she's going to give birth, but we're anxiously waiting.
Babies.
That's exciting.
Hey, Michael.
Yo.
Did you say that UESP's Facebook thing said skooma was the export?
Yeah, now they may have taken it down. Who knows?
No, they didn't. They didn't do that, but they did edit it to say that moon sugar remains elsewhere as primary export.
There it is. Very
Maybe that's
good.
what they meant,
Very
I guess.
good.
But...
Yeah. Did you even talk to them, or they just did that like just now?
Oh, that's too funny.
But is moon sugar an export of?
I mean, I
Because
don't.
no one else likes it.
I don't know that it is, but
The only
It
people
could
who
be an
like it
export
are-
to other Khajiit.
yeah,
That's
I
fair.
don't want to cause too much trouble. But
Well, I was just thinking, like, I mean, like nobody else likes it.
well, I mean, look at it this way. I mean, well, okay, I guess maybe where they got that from is because when you talk to Rasad and his different groups in Skyrim, they sell moon sugar and skooma. But as far as official exports, I don't know.
So
I mean, probably they export things like, I know when I was working on the mod, we had it that in the north, red cattle was a real thing. So all kind of animal products and stuff like that. Wheat was
Is that Venus?
a major product around Riverhold,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, et cetera.
Skyrim elsewhere win.
So I'm wondering, can moon sugar be made into rum?
Yes,
Yeah,
there is. Yes,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
double moon sugar rum.
Yeah, man.
That sounds amazing.
It
It
sounds
also
pretty impressive.
sounds like
It does sound really good.
the
Sounds
Also put it in rice.
alcoholic equivalent of peyote.
Yes, yes.
My
Moon sugar rice.
Food.
I
Right.
would love to try that.
What I really want to know is, can you make a creme brulee with moon sugar on top that can be charred?
Ah,
Yes, probably.
There
Yeah.
has to
All
be.
right, so Sam has brought up in the past, primarily because of Seth Zinch. If any of you know that YouTuber and all his wonderful videos, we have brought up in the past the joke of Caius Casades was dishonorably discharged for his crippling crack cocaine addiction. Because, of course, the thing is, Caius Casades was addicted to, I believe, both moon sugar and skooma. So the joke there is that, like, the actual skooma item looks like crack cocaine. Like, it does not look like powdered sugar. It looks like giant rocks of cocaine.
Oh, you're talking
Or
about moon
giant rocks
sugar.
of crack cocaine. So the
Moon
thing
sugar.
therein that I have extrapolated from this is that at market, when you buy moon sugar, it is still chunks of sugarcane. Like, you still have chunks of moon sugarcane, primarily just for ease of transport, because it's a lot easier to just, toss someone a chunk of sugarcane rather than having to also give someone a jar full of sugar. That way, when you actually get home, you can crush the sugarcane on your own to get the sugar, and then sprinkle that.
I get
It would
that.
it would basically be the equivalent of, like, say, if you went to a store and if you went to like a medieval store and you bought salt, but rather than getting like small little pieces of salt, you're given like a small salt rock, and you're basically expected to just crush it up yourself.
Just lick the rock.
Hey, I got a question about moon sugar for a second.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, like, because of wobbly brain, I don't always remember where I heard things or whether or not the thing I thought was actually a thing that exists or something that was in a dream that my brain put in the wrong spot. So, is there ever been a lore thing about moon sugar being, like, harvested by skimming them off of washing up on beaches like amber? Oh, that wasn't
I do remember.
Yeah,
I
pretty sure it's
cannot remember where it's from, Mac.
Yeah.
Are you referring to a text that talks about the crystallized moonlight washing up on the shores of the Topol Sea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the quote. I don't remember where it is though.
Oh, I'm glad that
Yeah,
at least it's real.
Yeah, I've heard it too. I can't remember where it's from though.
Because I think that was what I just automatically assumed was where moon sugar came from. So when ESO came out, I was really annoyed.
Oh, you were really
Right,
annoyed that it was like actual
surprised.
plantains of
That's so much
sugarcane.
more boring.
Well,
I mean, at the same time,
idea.
it makes sense as to why it's moon sugar. It's just a type of sugarcane,
Well, no,
a really
the
great type of
It's not
sugarcane.
from the moon.
The idea
Fun
is
sugarcane.
that the moon's light shines down upon the water, and that the light is absorbed into the sugar cane.
I mean, I get it. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying it's much less fascinating if
Yeah,
it's a
I get
planet than if
Well,
it was
'cause when
like pieces of the moon fell into the ocean.
Yeah, when I saw the whole thing about washing up on the shores, I immediately thought of manna from the Old Testament. I thought,
Yeah.
man, that's really a very interesting
rad.
metaphor. But
See, I was
they
thinking- Oh, go ahead.
they went a different way with that.
See,
Yeah,
I was
and
thinking
it's
they
fine
may
if
have
they went a different way
irrigated
with it.
water from the Topal Sea.
Sorry, what was that?
I was thinking that perhaps there's some sort of irrigation process where water from the Topal Sea needs to be incorporated into the process of raising moon sugar.
Ooh. Like nutrients and shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. Because
the trick
that
is-
text,
It's got
whatever
like
the text is, it's very specific that it's the Topal Sea, not just water in
the-
general.
The trick is
Well, I
that,
mean,
there's a place in Sky or in Morrowind where they grow moon sugar in ESO. There's
Yeah.
a cave.
Yeah, true, but you know, my counter
and
to
I
that
was
is I
gonna
could
say,
probably
isn't,
grow a potato out of a bucket, but it's not going to be as good.
Yeah,
Well,
I was
it's a
gonna say,
fair
isn't
point.
Canartes Roost also not in the Topal Sea?
No, it's in the Topal Sea.
Is it?
Yeah.
I need to check that map again to
I
actually
think
remember where
so.
the Topal Sea ends.
It's not in Topal Bay.
No, it's not in
Yeah.
Topal Bay.
It's close enough that like side currents would still be able
Here
to.
it is. That is from Pocket. Okay, it's from the first edition of the Pocket Guide. That quote. Let me see if I can. Yeah, let me see if we can find it.
Real quick, has anyone pre-ordered the cookbook?
No.
I want
I
to-
have not. I don't have the money to pre-order that,
nice.
unfortunately.
It was like
I would
16
say
bucks on
pre-
Amazon for a while, I think.
I don't have the money to pre-order that, unfortunately.
I feel that.
Hey, Brandon.
You might not understand just what I mean when I say that.
What are you doing, bro?
I'm basically unemployed right now, and my wife is the only one who works.
Mm.
And then there's me. I'm a student, so I'm kind of getting
Yeah.
away with it.
I've
And we're
been in there,
Australian.
man. I feel that.
Shipping.
I work at a place full of degenerates, and I've worked every single part of this store. I've been like a salesperson, a stock manager, and now I'm in the cafe. I don't know what I'm doing.
As long as you're getting paid, man. Fuck it.
Yeah, that's all I care. Because like I live comfortably, and that's all I really care.
Here we go.
Sounds like
Yeah.
IKEA.
No,
Okay.
I had
It's almost as big as
I had to leave customer service like as soon as possible.
Yeah, I couldn't.
I
I
wanna-
completely
anymore.
respect that.
I'm not very good.
I want to
at
come back to that in a second, Andrew, but I found the quote. This is in the first edition of the Pocket Guide. The Khajiit also believe that their gods regularly bestow blessings on their chosen people in the form of moon sugar, a substance native to the Tenmar forest in southern elsewhere. The sugar has a variety of uses. It is alternately a seasoning and a magical ingredient, a source of communion with the holy moons, and a dangerous and addictive drug. The Khajiit understand it to be crystallized moonlight caught in the water of the Topal Sea and brought to the sugarcane groves of the Tenmar by the force of the twin tides. By partaking of the sugar, the Khajiit believe that they are consuming small portions of the gods' eternal souls. I would actually agree with that line. This drives them into fits of ecstasy and abandon. The streets of Elsewhere's major cities are full of catmen shivering in the grip of sugar fits, etc.
Oh, that's some more Catholic connection. That sounds very transubstantiation like.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very much so. It's
also
very much
reminiscent of. It's also reminiscent of opium in China.
right,
Yeah.
right. The image of them laying in the street in fits is definitely an opium thing, but the use of the word communion is very, very Catholic.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're playing with a lot of interesting metaphors when it comes to the Khajiit, and
Hmm.
it's actually a little hard to try to put all together and kind of figure out what's the real picture.
That's part of the point, though. I mean, can you imagine like being an Imperial and trying to figure out what exactly moon sugar means to the Khajiit? It's just it's a nightmare
Tell you something
assignment.
else.
Like,
And the other thing to keep in mind is that especially the first Pocket Guide is like total rubbish. I mean, the propaganda is just insane.
And you can
And
tell
even-
the Khajiit are just trolling them too. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
the
we can
truth.
get
That's my favorite
to
part.
reading Herodotus. Because Apprentice is wild. It's mostly mistranslations and propaganda.
Oh man, this Finasser is turning out great. Ish. I mean, I'm absolutely.
There it is.
I'm absolutely I'm gonna send this to all of you by the time it's done, or by the time that
Mac.
I decide that I don't want to work on it anymore.
Mac, right at the end of the first pocket guide part on elsewhere. Nevertheless, moon sugar is a daily part of Khajiit life and their kingdom's chief export. The food of elsewhere is invariably sweet. Candies, cakes, puddings, and sugar meats are the staples of the Khajiit diet, and travelers to elsewhere are cautioned against partaking of any of the native food. Humans, it seems, are even more susceptible to the effects of moon sugar than the catmen themselves.
So what I'm betting is that when they're preparing their exported amounts, they lessen it or diminish it so that it's stomachable to the foreigners.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
So they don't get sued or
Like
something.
there's candy that goes to Torval for the Khajiit children, and then there's candy that goes to Cyrodiil for the human children, and they're very, very different.
I don't know if you all ever read Landfall Daisier when the group of us were doing those, but in Chris Franzen's final story, he presented it as a radio drama, as so we had commercials. And I had a commercial of a Khajiit teaching people. It was totally like a Food Network thing. This is how you make moon sugar candies.
Oh boy, that's fantastic.
It was so much fun.
It sounds like it was fun.
It was a lot of fun. I actually had based it on the day before he said something to me, I'd seen like Bobby Flay or somebody making candies, and I'm like, I know how to do this.
Yeah. Like Paula Deen, so instead of butter,
Everything's butter.
Instead of everything's butter, everything is moon sugar.
Butter and cheesy fajitals.
Butter and bacon grease.
Butter, bacon grease, and racism.
Listen, I was on Ambien.
Oh, wow.
We're talking about imperial culture. Oh,
Yes.
We get Paula Deen for real, for sure.
Paula Deen is an imperial. I would believe that.
She is Colovian to the core.
I was gonna say she's Nibonese to the core, but she might be Clovian.
Nibonese are typically a little more cultured, multicultural.
So is this chat really what race is Paula Deen in the Elder Scrolls?
Yes.
Is Paula Deen canon? Let's go.
Is Paula Deen canon?
yeah.
Actually, she's probably. Wait, no, I'm thinking of somebody else. I'm sorry, never mind.
What's going
You're
on?
about to say
Twitter?
Gordon Ramsay is the
No.
gourmet.
I was trying to figure
Ramsay
out
is Gordon.
who in real life is most like Alessia Otis.
Oh boy.
Like, have you read her stuff in The Elder Scrolls 4? It's just so much racism. Triple murdering her and her husband and daughter are always what I use to get me into the Dark Brotherhood when I play Oblivion.
Let's see. I kill.
Woo, lad.
I always kill Mythic Dawn agents.
I always end up killing the Grey Prince and then crying into my bed at night.
I
He
always
wanted
end
you to
up just kind of not joining the Dark Brotherhood.
Oh,
come
no,
on,
it's
man.
too much coin. I want my
All
coin.
right, so the thing there is more that as time has gone on, I've kind of drifted away from the Dark Brotherhood. Like, yeah, they're cool, but like I've kind of drifted away from fanboying over them.
Also, but I
Oh, I
thought you
get
meant like
that.
just
I get
avoiding the
that.
plot.
Oh, I don't
line
fanboy
entirely.
over him, but I definitely join him just because I'm completionist.
Same. I do. I think
Quest
they're
lines are always
pretty
good
awesome.
for me.
I've got a bit of a thing with Sithis.
Yeah,
I actually
I get what you mean.
I like canon, like player character, Chezarine sort of thing. But I always do play all through all the quest lines.
yeah. I just keep
I love-
turning over the Sithis and the Mira connections in my head. It's just
Yeah, I
it's
keep
a
thinking-
nightmare.
I really love the. Is it Sithis who is the god of needed change?
Yes, he is the Kuvaste.
Sithis is
Yeah,
a
that's
lot of things.
So this is a lot of things. Well, I
Who are
don't
you
think he actually
asking?
has a will.
And also nothing, and also everything. Yeah.
All right, I would say that with Sithis, I don't think Sithis has an actual will or a mind of its own. Sithis is just the natural concept of change.
Ooh, some
even though he
Disclose and
is-
ESO disagree with you on that.
Do what?
Yeah,
Some
but
Mistwoes in ESO disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
Ah,
But what I more mean there is like, I would say that Sithis and Anuiel, I don't think either of them actually have their own individual minds,
Yeah,
in the
I don't
sense that
think-
like they don't have their own individual wills that they exert because they're too high up on the gradient to need such things. Rather, because they are the birth souls of Anu and Padome, they effectively serve as the conduits to cause what Anu and Padome represent.
They're a concept, not a being. More like that's
They're less self-aware than just about everything. Just a couple
there's a
things.
hole in the ground.
oh
Put it
yes,
to the
entropy. I love it.
Walk
You entered
along
into
the razors.
80s hair metal hour.
Yeah, entropy is definitely Namiro's thing.
Oh fuck, yeah, you're right.
I mean, I would
yes,
go so far as to say
because-
that entropy is technically most Daedric Prince's things.
You could argue that, but
Sheogorath is entropy for the sake of entertainment.
He's more Discord though. He's more
No.
he's not entropy, no.
because
Yeah, actually, I felt like that was a good
Period's
way.
definitely not.
I felt like the whole thing of like saying that Sheogorath is he is discourse for the sake of discourse because he finds it entertaining is probably the best way to describe him, because that at least describes him from Daggerfall to now. Even before they got into the weird random humor cheese everywhere bullcrap. Even before that, realistically, the reason you had such weird quests whenever he was involved was just because he found them to be entertaining to himself.
I need to make.
He should be one of the most
say
terrifying
something.
princes.
He is one of the most terrifying princes, but in that same regard, you can also say that he is the only prince that mortals can actually really understand and comprehend. More in the sense of like, any prince can do something that a mortal would see as being mad.
Okay, everybody chill. Astra's got something to say. Go ahead, Astra.
Oh, sorry.
In regards to cringy fanboys of Shio, there is a entire team. Well, there was an entire team in the LARP that I attend regularly, who were literally based off of followers of Sheogorath in a Warhammer themed LARP.
I think I know the ones you mean. But
yeah, it
was bad.
Charlotte, I don't think the people of Tamriel are advanced enough to understand Sheogorath.
I feel like
No, not in. I don't really mean in the sense of they understand him, but more in the sense of all Daedric princes, he is the most predictable because you can actually guess that he will be unpredictable because he is unpredictable. That's the thing, he always is. But as a result, that becomes predictable, quote unquote.
See, I would argue more like Mehrunes Dagon or Molag Bal is going to be the more predictable one.
Well, potentially, but they can also do things that are predictable, like I'm gonna start crushing everything, but then they can also do things that are very unpredictable. They can suddenly start using cloak and dagger tactics. Because to them it makes sense. They can do things that to us seem completely insane and ludicrous, but to them it makes sense because, well, they're an extraplanar entity. We can't really go so far as to assume that we can understand them.
But yeah, but that goes for Sheogorath too. He can be, I'm going to crush you immediately, or I'm going to stab you in the back in the night.
Maybe.
I mean, just because he's unpredictable, I mean, and he's an infinite being, I mean, it's going to happen eventually to somebody.
Yeah.
So my friend Ren pointed this out, that Sheogorath seems like, and this is probably like my biggest like I also agree with this, but Sheogorath is like a being that does not want to be in its own skin.
Oh, I like that.
Can you elaborate on that?
That's really good.
Like, I mean, for one, like Sheogorath has become the opposite of everything he used to be. But I think like when it comes to it encompasses mental health, and I think a lot of that gets kind of taken in a light that's like not as representative that it should be. But I always see, like, I agree that Sheogorath should represent not feeling comfortable in one's skin, basically. And Sheogorath is also probably like the least comfortable in his own skin, but also just sort of kind of flip-flops through all of these concepts and maddening sort of concepts, because it's kind of like it's the closest thing he can do to being complete, or being some kind of like thought having, concept having being.
Yeah. Oh, that actually makes something really stand out in the Mages Guild in ESO.
Yeah.
In the Mages Guild, as I'm sure most of you are aware, everything has to do with Sheogorath because Sheogorath is being an asshole again.
Predictable.
Anyway, one of the quests has you walking through Sheogorath's chateau, and he's asking you to do all these various things. And of course, one of the parts of the quest is, well, I have 3 guests here. 2 of them are cannibals that are going to eat you. One of them doesn't belong. Please get rid of the one who doesn't belong. And of the 3 people there, one of them is completely paranoid and completely terrified, and she doesn't know what she wants to do. Another one is completely insane and manic and is demanding you open the door. And then the last one is some guy asking, "Oh, are you the room service? God, I ordered you guys like an hour ago. What the hell is taking you so long?"
Yeah, that's a guy I get rid
And
of.
that's a really good example of what Sheogorath doesn't like, because that guy's completely comfortable with where he is. He's completely fine with where he is, because as far as he's concerned, he's in a hotel right now. He's expecting room service, so he does not belong because...
But that's insane.
Well, that's the thing. No, because it's not completely insane, because the 2 people who are insane are very much not comfortable with where they are. They are terrified of where they are.
No. What I mean is the guy is
schizophrenic, maybe.
But the guy there, I do get what you mean in that he is insane. But at the same time, you could also view it as he's less insane and more just kind of going with the flow and enjoying life. Even if that means he's in this creepy hotel, hey, he got a free hotel room.
I don't think so. I would say that he's the most insane because he has adopted it as normality.
Yes, but that is the guy who does not belong. Like, that's the thing. In the quest, that is the guy you have to evict because he does not belong.
Well, I think that's wrong of them.
I think you're wrong. So how about that?
We've just descended into grade
You took it personal, man. I said they were wrong.
Yes, and I am they.
No, I'm talking about the game makers.
I am all are we. You insult one of them, you insult me. Let's go.
I had a customer one time who he wanted me to make a copy of something, but because of copyright law, I couldn't do it. And he asked me, "Are you refusing a direct order?" I'm like,
what?
Yeah. And he's like, "Do you know who I am? I'm the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Army." I'm like, "That's Barack Obama." And he's like, "Well, I tell him what to do." I'm like, "Okay, whatever, dude."
Sure you do.
Dude was high on peyote or something.
That's too funny.
He has to have been. But that does sound hilarious. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I have a lot of stories like that. These people are ridiculous. I got D&D tomorrow. Woo!
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I get to run my game, my Elder Scrolls game. We're gonna figure out how the Nerevarine is going to tackle the 4th and 5th trials.
Ooh, that ought to be fun.
Jack, who's in here, he's actually the DM for our test game.
Oh, is he? Very cool.
He comes up with some good stuff. Oh yeah, and Sheogorath is the main baddie in our.
Right. We're literally running through the events of Morrowind because most of my players have never played it, and so it makes for some really good situations. I mean, I've thrown my own spin on a lot of stuff. Like they actually started in High Rock, and then they made their way through Skyrim. They ended up in the Imperial City, and then were shipped to Morrowind because they were arrested. And so they were released from prison in Morrowind, and that was
They were shipped from the Imperial City to Morrowind?
Yep, they have taken you from the Imperial City's prison, first by carriage and now by boat to the east to Morrowind. Fear not, for I am watchful.
The longest roundabout way ever to get you to Morrowind.
I know. But they had a quarantine going on because of the blight. How else are the blades going to get them in?
I also saw that Tamriel rebuilt.
What the hell is that noise?
Yeah, what was that?
Tamriel Rebuilt also posted like a map of how you get from the Imperial City into Morrowind. Yeah, that's.
It would just piss me off if I were the prisoner. Like, all right, we got to go down to Leyawind. We got a boat there waiting for you. It's like, are you?
And then you get to and then you get to Morrowind. They're like, oh, you actually are. You're not really the person we're looking for.
Okay, no.
Cool. I'm incredibly displaced. Thank you.
Where is that noise coming from?
Is it mine? I don't think.
I don't know. There's some. It sounds like someone's got like an electric razor or something.
Yeah, it sounds like there's an electrical current just running through a mic right now.
I'm trying to like look at people's mic noises and see where it's coming from.
Oh, I figured out which. I think I figured out who it was.
I thought maybe it was Mac, so I muted Mac.
Nope.
No. Yeah.
Nexaris. Which person is that?
That's Dylan, but he's muted too. Yeah.
Weird.
Try.
I'm sorry, I had to step away for a minute. Were you guys trying to unmute me or something?
No, we're trying to figure out where this noise is coming from.
Oh.
Like, it's not me because I can hear it.
Yeah, and I can hear it too.
I don't hear anything.
It's not me.
Well, I think it's Dan.
I just muted Dan. Did that do it?
Yeah, Dan.
Oh, Dan, I'm so sorry.
Dan, there's some kind of weird, like, electrical interference. Like you're putting off too much energy.
Yeah. Stop going Super Saiyan.
Your powers must be growing.
All right, Belle, I think you might really enjoy how this has turned out.
Well, so I was talking.
37 degrees outside, yeah. So
I should probably color this.
So
but do I really want to? Oh crap! No, I'm not done with this yet. I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Andrew.
Well, I was talking about my D&D campaign, and the personal liberties I've taken with Morrowind's story, and how they went from High Rock to Hammerfell to the Imperial City. They're actually arrested in Skyrim, and then were taken to the Imperial City, and they were kept there for a couple of days, and then shipped to Morrowind because that was how the Blades got them in. And actually, that red guard, when you first start Morrowind and he's on the deck of the ship, that was actually my character. And he's a Blades agent helping the Nerevarine and his friends get to Morrowind. And that was actually kind of fun to do. But in Whiterun, my characters defeated the Witch Queen Jasash, who is a self-proclaimed priestess of Lorcan. And so I made it so that she's actually a pawn of Dagoth Ur. And so she's been communing with Lorcan, but because Dagoth Ur has the heart, he was intercepting those prayers. And so he was posing as Lorcan to tell her what to do, and she just accepted it as Lorcan.
That sounds very Sauron.
A little bit. And so he has this plan where he wants to take over all the towers. And so the easiest one is Snowthroat. So he wanted Jasash to spread his influence to Snowthroat so that he could further his blight. because if each tower is like a receptor of his signal of divinity, then Snowthroat is going to be another link in that chain. And so she sent, and she's like this super hot like Dunmer priestess who, like, they walk into Dragon's Reach in Whiterun, and she's like covered in like bear pelts and stuff. She stands up and she's like completely naked except for like a belly dancer skirt or whatever she would like. And she's got piercings going all over the place, like nipple to nose to ear, like all kinds of stuff. And she's
I'm really gay for that.
Yeah, like banging. And there was one character who had a really hard time, and she was like, "Yeah, if you do this task for me, like maybe I'll, help you out." And so she's like totally offering herself so long as they do this task. And the task was to take this statue of Lorcan and bring it up to, a certain area of Snowthroat. And they found out at some point that inside the statue of Lorcan was actually a giant ash statue, like the ones you see in Sixth House bases. And so the idea was that this giant statue was going to corrupt Snowthroat, and then Snowthroat would act as a repeater for that signal and spread the blight and the Sixth House to Skyrim. And so that was the idea. And so he's got little plots for each tower, and that's the idea.
The will of Hermamora be done.
Yeah. So my players thwarted that, killed Queen Jisash and her coven of witches. I had this whole there were like 3 witches who followed Jisash, and they were just terrifying to behold. And the 4 of them had the entirety of Whiterun like ensnared in an enchantment, so that they were moving almost as a hive mind. And they had these smiles on their faces, but their crops are rotting, and in the marketplace there's just old dead fruit and meat that's turned green, and like that they're just living in squalor, but they love it. And that was a fun thing to do. So it was just Sash, who's mentioned in the players the Pocket Guide to the Empire Volume 3. It was a lot of fun.
That does sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I added a lot of headcanon to the character to turn her into. I made her a Dunmer, and yeah, so I did a lot of that. And there was actually a point where I kind of teased Oblivion while they were in the Imperial City. No, actually, okay, they went to the Imperial City first, and they were arrested there. While they were in the Imperial City, there were riots happening at the foot of White Gold Tower, and the people were unconvinced that Uriel VII's sons were actual proper heirs because of what happened with Jaeger Thorn. And so they ran into Mankar Cameron in the crowd, because I'm suggesting that the Mythic Dawn actually put that idea out there that the sons of Uriel Septim are not legitimate heirs, to help create unrest in the Empire so that they could eventually assassinate Uriel Septim VII. And so the players kind of got a whiff of that. And one character actually has the razor, or Marin's razor, but as a rusty dagger. He doesn't know what it is yet. He's just got a rusty dagger.
Oh boy.
And the fact that I called it a rusty dagger, he's held on to it because he knows it's important. And
I mean, the moment you go from just it's just a dagger to it's a rusty dagger. Ooh.
Yeah. And so Mankar Cameron noticed that he had it on him. And so he said, make sure you use it well. And so it was just a nice little moment between my current Nerevarine, Morgan Blackwater, and Mankar Cameron. And as soon as we're done with Marwyn's main quest, which we just started, the 4th and 5th trials, as soon as they're done with that and they defeat Dagothur, I'm going to send them into an epic level campaign with the Oblivion Crisis. And that's what they're going to deal with.
if you take this Dagoth Earth thing to its logical conclusion, it sounds like Hermaeus Mora's way of doing what the Triad attempted.
Hmm.
Please don't tell me what they attempted. I still haven't gone to Somerset.
Would you play that already, man?
Look, man,
Dude.
I had to register for classes this week. I didn't have a lot of time.
Well,
Man, I'm in classes this week. Level up.
Oh,
I
I can't
just,
get
I,
out of
just,
Sky.
I just applied for substitute teaching positions today. So,
Yeah, I had 5 days to sign up to register for my classes because apparently that's what happens when you register for the spring.
I'm off tomorrow, and I'm probably just gonna play Cyrodiil.
Nice.
So, did I ever talk about like the idea for this interactive game that I've been kind of I laid out the groundworks for it, but it's going to take place in High Rock, the majority of it. So a lot of my characters sort of revolve around this this plot involving House Gardenier. I just like zoomed in and saw like a werewolf nipple on Andrew's.
a werewolf. Oh no, that's Dylan. What's up with the werewolf nipples?
Oh, not on yours.
I don't know.
Gross. Oh yeah, I see him now. The werewolves. Anyway, so
Mm.
it's gonna start off like you're in a ship going down the Biolse, I think is how you pronounce it.
Yeah,
Biolse.
River. That takes place predominantly in Evermore, and I'm placing it in the area that it is in ESO. I know a lot of people have some contingency with that, but you know what?
Are you in Evergloam right now, Dylan?
No, I'm in Quagmire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, basically you're in a boat and you start off. You're actually captured by a group of Thalmor, and you're coming to your senses, and you realize that they're arguing with another Altmer, and it appears it's like there's one male Altmer who's arguing with a female Altmer. Female Altmer is in she's another prisoner, like yourself, and they have some sort of like. I'm not going to give away too much of what's happening, but they have like some sort of argument, and then the Altmer, who is just a CR, leaves, and then so the imprisoned Altmer, she looks at you, and like the whole thing starts with her saying, "Okay, well, we're gonna get out of here." And there's
what is that? Sorry,
oh, that's okay. I was because I'm watching it at the same time too. So yeah, it's gonna start off with that, and then you're basically gonna have to break out of a prisoner ship that was being taken into Evermore by the Thalmor.
Oh, I'm right. Oh shit!
And so you have to crash it, and then you have to escape, and then you run into Evermore, but like no one really knows like who you are. So you
This bucket's freaky right here.
Yeah. So no one really knows like who you are and like that you've been captured, so you can just kind of slip on by, and everyone's like, "Oh, the ship wrecked, and some prisoners escaped," and so you're able to retrieve all of your goods and everything. So you're fine. You look like a normal person. But then like there's a lot of Thalmor snooping around Evermore, and it's not because of Talos worship. It's mainly because there's a lot of dissidents in the city, and they can't just use a Greenfires event on Evermore because there's a lot of Altmer and shrines to Finister in Evermore, and it's a little bit of a more of a delicate surgical operation that the Thalmor are having to like commit here. See you, Dan. So
Hi, Dan.
the character is basically like the main character is basically kind of going through trying to like evade them, and then you run into a few like kind of mysterious characters who are like one of them's a mute who's playing a guitar on the streets, and then eventually you probably will be able to meet Ulasan. I'm still like trying to like put out all the pacing and trying to see like how this is going to work, but the first part of it is just you speaking with a lot of the refugees and their leaders in Evermore. And there's an Orsimer, a Red Guard, an Imperial, and then there's also the Altmer that you like you guys escaped from the prison ship that you're being taken into to be interrogated. And then there's also a guy who is there's no king of Evermore at this point. There's a High Lord. He also wants to know what's going on. So there's a lot of like political stuff. But he eventually is going to put you on a quest line to find out these people to help them like get out of the claws of the Thalmor, and then he ends up killing a main character, and then just being like, "Hey, thanks for helping me find this person." And so you get like he's a nasty man. And so you end up being thrown in jail again, and then the person to rescue you is the person who's supposed to be the heir of the throne, and that's the main character that is a part of the Breton Illuminati that I have. So it turns into you like helping the Breton Illuminati take over Evermore and return it to its secretive and weird ways, and you're gonna. And the end game is to reunite the Daggerfall Covenant through Evermore. So yeah, and also get rid of the Thalmor by getting them to leave all the dissidents alone. But there's going to be a lot of multiple things.
I'm trying to look up like the dialogue of wise women right now.
Speaking of like reforming and whatnot.
So the cool thing about this mod is that the Skull of Corruption will actually talk to you in certain parts of it.
Ooh,
like the Augur?
Yeah.
I want the Augur to come back. It's the best character.
What sucks though is that this mod doesn't have a fucking world map. So you can't fast travel to any of the locations.
I love how crazy people went over the Augur's dialogue. It was like the only good thing about the Sijic Order questline.
What was?
The Augur.
The Augur of Dunlane.
Yeah, the Augur of Dunlane beneath the College of Winterhold.
The College of Winterhold.
Nah.
Yeah.
The obscure.
The Augur honestly was probably one of the only good things to come out of that quest line.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Every time I have to do like I start a new build, I'm like, and here we go.
Yeah, I'm currently
Here we go.
I'm currently doing that from my my fire DK. I'm like, oh.
But once you get that speed boost, it's like, oof, oof.
It's good.
Because
also the weapon.
Good skill.
Yeah, I think the only thing that kind of sucks right now is just there's no like passive, hey, fighting enemies and exploring and doing quests and whatnot will give you experience. Right now it's literally just, oh, it's Mid-Year Mayhem. Go get experience for killing people.
Someone explain to me why we're having it twice a year.
I don't know, but I'd like Mid-Year Mayhem.
I think because they want to get the Indrik shit out of the way.
Yeah. Probably.
That's fair.
So apparently we're going to be able to transform our Indrik probably at the end of February.
I think it's once you
Jeff?
have all 4 berries, you can then choose which Indrik you want to transform it into.
I know, but like, what would that? Because I already have everything. What would that like entail? How? What would
you gotta have 4 berries.
Yeah, I know, but like, when would we be able to get our last berry if you already have 1 berry right now?
Yeah,
I think it's mid-year, like in June or July.
Really?
Oh, maybe that, or maybe April.
That's gonna be the last one for the.
Because that's the thing. I doubt it would be February. because that means we have to have 3 more events between now and February.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It is, you do need to get one of each berry, but you get to choose which berry actually gets used.
What color are you guys getting?
I forget the colors. All I
I
know is
haven't
I'm
actually
gonna be
done
happy.
any of it. I went on hiatus from ESO for a few months, and then it had started, and I came back and I'm like,
Oh, for fuck's sake.
It's
All
so
this
hard to like.
goddamn fucking fantasy.
It's so hard to like catch up on that stuff. It's
I've
either like
heard that you can buy the stuff as well, but it's probably going to be really expensive.
No, it's not expensive.
Oh,
The
good.
feathers and berries and whatnot, you cannot trade them because they're character bound,
Yeah.
or they're account bound. You buy them from the impresario for event tickets.
Oh,
yeah, but you
good.
can't be able to.
You're limited to 12 event tickets per
You will
account.
be able to buy tickets though through Crown Store.
Huh, interesting.
It hasn't been a thing yet. Like they didn't do it.
Yeah,
for
like, again, that seems like something that is actually going to be expensive.
Yeah, because I remember seeing in the event like article that they were like, oh, you can buy it retroactively and stuff like that. You can catch up if you haven't played the events, and it's like, oh, good. How? Yeah, I'm
Oh boy, adding color to this Finaster.
like,
Yeah, I know I haven't shown it to the rest of you yet, but I have shown it to Belle, and she can tell you what it's like.
It's beautiful.
It's dumb. It's beautiful and dumb, and I will share it once there's color.
What color Indrix y'all getting first?
Shit, I'm trying to remember. I think the snow one looked pretty.
Ooh.
I want to say that technically they're all called Dawnwood Indrix, just because that's what an adult Indrik is called.
Yeah.
But there's like 4 different feather patterns.
I think the golden one's probably gonna look best with my Alien.
Honestly, I think the greatest thing is that I straight up waited. I waited quite a while until I could actually just like get the Indrik, and then I started making my Altmer characters because I was like, it fits now. It fits. Let's go.
Like they're naked without their Indrix.
They need the Indrix.
Yeah.
How else am I gonna have a great time?
They all look very pretty.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I've been torn between the white one and the golden one.
I like the
Ooh,
dawn.
yeah, there's a golden one. Man, I am going to wait until like the next event that gives us a thing of like, oh, here's a refreshable 2-hour experience boost to make another character. But currently I have this sort of running joke right now that my Altmer characters are triplets.
Oh yeah.
So the current joke is that they are triplets, and therefore it's perfect because they're a good number of siblings because there's 3 of them. But at some point, I might also want to make a Templar and 1 other class to make it 5 to make it even better.
I have a friend that plays the same character just with every class. Like they just made the same look and everything, just replace them as a different class.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
I remember correctly, I think it was Kev Dewitt has like this. He has like 8 different characters, but they all have the greatest names ever. One of them's called like Mike the Firefight Knight. I think another one is called Mr. Steele's Yo Hummus.
What is that?
Oh, it's exactly what it sounds like. He steals your hummus.
That's so weird.
I think it's a warden.
It sounds about right.
I have 2 wardens. One's a
This
healer.
Lorechat is great.
Damn.
I have I've got a what's it called? Stamina.
Wardens are pretty fun. I need to level mine up a little bit.
I have a character I gotta delete so I can make room for a necromancer.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm so
I
excited
think
for
I'm going to
necromancers.
I have an idea. So I had a necromancer in Guild Wars 2 that I absolutely love, and I missed the character concept.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to redesign her as a Dremora,
Mm.
like an Apocrypha Dremora, because her whole scheme is like gray, black, and green,
Mm.
like the necromancer colors. And
I do think it's kind of funny that we're finally able to play a necromancer character, and that means that clearly at some point you pissed off Mana Marco. Like you were working for him and you were late one too many times.
There was a folder in there that just said Mana Marco in the data mines. I'm wondering if it's going to be something similar to like what happened in WoW, where you have Illidan, who is an old villain, who's just sort of like taking in the Illidari and training them,
Hmm.
and then you can use them. You can now play them as characters.
I was gonna say something. Oh yeah. I changed my main's name the other day. It used to be Aerodrine Gildor, which is a Cinderin name that I put together in like the 7th grade, and I used a renaming token to change it to Aerodrine Gildreth, which is so much more done merry. Way better. Way better.
My Orsimer is named Yatul Gore Umog, and people won't stop giving me shit. You know, it's Gra, and I'm like, no, it's Gore, because
Andrew, I love your orc character. Every time I see you log on him, I'm like, I laugh.
Which one? Big, grow, large, huge?
Yeah, big, grow, large, huge.
Yeah. That's 2 G's and big.
That's amazing.
Grow, large.
Yeah, that's an interesting little point. That some Orsimer take the prefix Gore instead of
Gra.
because they don't identify as female.
I also have big birth.
Actually, if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure